Kids, welcome to the Far Out Podcast. It has been quite a while since we got together. For a bit there, I was doing pretty good about releasing stuff week to week. For a bit there, it existed on every Sunday, then every Monday, and then every Tuesday. And then the last batch of episodes, the last 4 or 5, existed on Fridays, which again, I've never really set too hard of a schedule for myself when it comes to this. I do like to keep a good catalog going. I like to update this as regularly as possible, and I would prefer it to happen week to week, but sometimes life just gets really busy, and that's what's happened to me just recently is that, lots of things have come up. Nothing bad. It's just things have been time consuming, but I want to say thank y'all to, tuning in to the Far Out Podcast, especially for watching the last episode I put up, which was my anticipation episode for Project Hail Mary. And now later in the episode, I am going to talk about the movie Project Hail Mary. I have seen the movie since that recording, and so that's a small tease for what's coming up later in the episode. I'm also recording on the same mics that I've been utilizing for the last, couple of months now, but I am recording on a different laptop, and I'm using a different recording software as well. The video editor will remain the same, but I just wanted to offer a bit of clarity if you're hearing any differences in audio and whatnot. I haven't put this through the filter yet. At the time that I am recording this, I have not done any of my post-production stuff, but I just wanted to offer a little bit of house cleaning because I know that there are some people that listen, consistently. They go in, episode in, episode out, and I appreciate that. And so for those who are keeping, track of stuff back at home, I just want to offer those updates. But there's a lot that I want to talk about, so let's just dive right in. And since we last got together, kids, my favorite band ever, 21 Pilots, released a new track, air quotes, new track, and this song is called Drag Path. And I use air quotes around that because if you're a super fan like me, then you know kind of the history of this song. When 21 Pilots released their latest album, Breach, they did the standard release, which is the version that you can find on, iTunes, Spotify, in stores, wherever, you prefer to get your music. The standard edition of Breach is the one that the majority of fans will listen to when they decide to check out this album. But then shortly after the release of the traditional album, the band 21 Pilots did release kind of an extended version of Breach. This one is titled Breach Digital Remains. And I believe that in this extended version, there were some perhaps alternate versions to songs, maybe a couple of demos as well. Some things to kind of, spice things up, so to speak, when compared to the traditional release. But really kind of the full meal, the main course dish that was offered in the Digital Remains release was this singular song called Drag Path, which was not a part of the traditional album release. And the only way you could listen to Drag Path was if you got the extended version of Breach, that being the Digital Remains version. That's the only way you could access the song Drag Path. And to be honest, I wasn't expecting that to hold. Normally when any kind of special release stuff happens, whether it's in music or movies or video games or whatever, eventually after so much time, it just kind of gets into the public access. That way, all the fans can get it, but if you want this extra stuff early, you just throw down a couple extra bucks, stuff like that. But to give 21 Pilots some credit, they held true to the exclusivity of the song Drag Path. The only way I listened to it was honestly via bootlegs. It's not like I purposely sought them out or whatnot. To be honest, I found the song accidentally when I was scrolling like TikTok or YouTube. It's not like I was going to some underground music website to try to get access to this song, but just hearing it again on accident as I was scrolling the internet, I liked the track. I really do. But anytime I would find a decent version of it online, it would get pulled down. The 21 Pilots, who I think they're under Fueled by Ramen, the label, which I think is a subgroup of the Warner Brothers music label. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's kind of the umbrella that Fueled by Ramen falls under is Warner Brothers proper. And so they were doing a really good job of policing releases of Drag Path, where it'd be up for a little bit, then it get pulled down. But of course, the internet is forever. You can never fully remove stuff from there. And so there were literally digital remains of digital remains that existed in corners of the internet. Well, now, after so much time, 21 Pilots has released a version of Drag Path proper. They've released it publicly via Spotify, iTunes, so on and so forth. And I say a version because if you know 21 Pilots, if you follow them as closely as I do, you know that this version of Drag Path is not the same version that was released on Digital Remains. This is in fact a separate version, its own unique version. 21 Pilots, they came out with a video saying that when they released this song to the public, they wanted to have a different version, so that way the fans that did get Digital Remains, the fans that did lay down extra money, can still have their unique version. And I gotta be honest, I admire that integrity for that too. I like the fact that there is still that sense of exclusivity if you did decide to get Digital Remains proper, as opposed to just getting this additional song, just itself like I did on Spotify. And so I've listened to both versions of the track. I've listened to the original version and I've listened to the public version. So you got Digital Remains versus the public version. Digital Remains is longer by about a full minute, if not more in length. It's not like they've just removed a few seconds. No, the public version that you can find on Spotify is about a minute shorter. And I gotta be honest, I really do like them both. I really do. And maybe I'm biased, but I think I prefer the public version a little more, just a little bit. I still like both versions, and every now and then I will go out and I'll try to find an upload to YouTube of the original version before it gets removed or something. There is more to it. Again, it is a full extra minute worth of song there. But the public version, it's tighter, it's leaner, it's meaner. And I think that it still has the roots of the original song, but it just kind of gets to the point more quickly, quite literally, because it's a minute shorter. And so, yeah, 21 Pilots, again, is my favorite band. I've seen them in concert either 8 or 9 times, and that's not an exaggeration. My mother and I have seen them together every time they've gone on tour. This last tour cycle, when they did the Breach album, they did not come close to us, being in the Midwest. So my mother and I went to North Carolina, and we had a fantastic time traveling together to go see them live. And now that they've finished their Breach tour proper for this album cycle, they're doing a lot of festival circuits, and they are performing the public release version of Drag Path to audiences everywhere. And so I am jealous of the audiences outside of the U.S. who are getting to experience Drag Path live. Again, I've seen some videos of it, those concert videos. I've seen videos of the song being performed, and I think it sounds amazing. 21 Pilots, I think, genuinely does sound better live than they do via recording. And look, I've seen some concerts where I think that holds true, to where I think that they do a better job live than via recording. And I've seen some artists live where I think, the recorded version is better. So, 21 Pilots, again, just continues to just floor me in every possible way. They have not so much teased, but they've acknowledged that they will be working on another album at some point. But again, they practically did a double album in the span of about 18 months, with one album titled Clancy, another one titled Breach. Those were separated by about just a year, if not a little more. And they are essentially a double album, though they gave them each individual releases, which I'm cool with, because that meant 2 tours, 2 concerts, more merch, more music, yada, yada, yada for myself. And it just gave me another opportunity to go out to see our favorite band live with my mom. And my mom loves 21 Pilots just as much as I do. And so, Drag Path is out. It is available, and there's a very cool music video accompanying it as well. It's stop motion, and it's quite emotional as well. And I really appreciate both the sound of the song and the visual medium that the song exists in as well. And I just think that's tremendous. And so if you have not listened to either version of Drag Path, I recommend that you at least listen to the public version that you can find anywhere, including the music video as well. And then if you feel so inclined, do a little bit of extra research, do some detective work, and go find the digital remains version of Dragpath. And then if you do decide to listen to both versions, comment down below and let me know which one you prefer more. But yeah, 21 Pilots, just what a great band. And they just keep on giving back to fans, even if it's just an individual song. And yeah, I'm just glad to have this one as a part of my playlist. And speaking of music, kids, when SojournONE and I aren't working together on our own music, known as the group Tugo, he himself is making some incredible music, and he has released 2 albums thus far, with more on the way. And I have heard some of what's coming in his future releases, and I think it is quite good. But in regards to his second album, that one being titled Freedom, that has now had a new kind of release, a new second leg to its life cycle, because SojournONE has completed physical copies of his second album, Freedom. And look, this album has existed online for some time now. It has been released for some time, but to now have it in a new format for fans to enjoy, I think is really, really special. This is a project that he's been working on for quite a while, and I've quite literally been there when he's putting the discs together, when he's making the packets and putting all the cool art and stuff inside each CD. And while I wasn't there for every step of the process, whenever I got updates from him, or whenever I got to see him literally putting stuff together, it made everything feel more special. I could really feel the art behind the whole deal, and I love the fact that he is making his music a multimedia type of approach and type of release as well. You can, of course, listen to his music digitally, you can get it physically, and then if you get a physical CD, it includes really cool art as well. He put a lot of time and effort into each booklet that comes accompanying with the disc itself, and then there's stickers and stuff alongside each CD as well. And so if you happen to find myself or Mr. SojournONE as well out in the wild, we have a couple of CDs on us, and we will happily, sell them to you and whatnot. And yeah, it's so cool to have a literal physical release of something that a friend of mine made, because he is someone who has been on the podcast before, but even before the podcast even existed, he is someone who truly did champion me doing this kind of stuff. He is someone who said, I have a good voice, I have a good creative mindset, and I should do something with it. And to be honest, I didn't do anything with that thought for a long time. He told me that for years, and then finally, just one day out of the blue, seemingly, I started the Far Out podcast. And then starting the podcast led to me having my own platform to do creative things that I never thought were possible, one of them being creating music. And when I decided that that was something that I wanted to do, there was no one else I thought to turn to except for him, because by that point he had already released 2 albums and he had a working pipeline for all this stuff. And so again, for this essential continuation of a release of this, continuous release of music to exist inside of his pipeline, I think it's just really tremendous. And yeah, again, when we're working together, it's a totally different umbrella. But then for him to go back into his own world and to make things with his own devices under the name SojournONE proper, I love that stuff. I love the CDs he's released thus far, and as I said, he is working on more music. And again, the little snippets that he has shown me, I think, are just amazing. And so if you've liked album 1 and album 2, then what's coming up is just going to blow your mind even further. And yeah, again, I just think it's so cool to be able to literally hold something in my hand that a friend of mine made. And so yeah, physical copies of Freedom are here. They exist. And again, if you happen to find myself or Mr. SojournONE out in the wild, then ask us about getting a CD. But even if you don't see us, or you can't get a hold of a CD, because there are a limited supply, admittedly, there are a limited number of CDs available right now. Please continue to check out his stuff via his own page. Continue to check out our stuff together under the name Tugo, which you can find on this free podcast channel. But then again, even if you do decide to check out the Tugo stuff, check the description below of each video because there is a direct link to his own page there as well. And again, his stuff is amazing. His stuff got me interested in wanting to make music at all. And so please check out his first album, check out his second album, and then again, if you happen to find us, inquire about getting a physical copy of Freedom. And thank you so much, Sojourn. Shout out to my friend for being a supporter of the podcast, for being a supporter of our own music, for wanting to do that together. And then if you're listening, and I know that you are, I just continue to make stuff because it really, really is tremendous. Hello, kids. Welcome back to the Far Out Podcast. At the time of this recording for this segment of this episode, it is now Friday, March 27th. And boy, life just moves a mile a minute. Whether it's culture, politics, pop culture. I mean, there is so much stuff that I want to talk about that I've wanted to talk about for so long that I'm just behind on everything. And the last time I fell this far behind to where I wasn't putting out episodes, inside of a week, 2 weeks, stuff like that. I ended up releasing an episode that was 7 hours long, much to the laughs and to the chagrins of the people that listened to this. But thank you for those that did. And if you're someone who did, in fact, listen to all 7 hours of that episode, what is going on with you? I don't know if I should be awed by you or if I should be scared of you. So, again, but thank you for listening. And inside of that 7-hour episode, there is surely something in there for everyone to enjoy, much like this very episode right now, because again, there is a lot that I want to discuss. And moving on now, we are going to get into the world of culture, not necessarily pop culture, that will come later, but just culture, broadly speaking. Since we last got together, the Olympics, the Winter Olympics, have come and gone. And, that is a weird thing to kind of digest. The fact that the Olympics came and went. I enjoyed the Olympics this time around. I remember leading up to the Olympics, I was really invested into it. I was like, yeah, like here it comes and whatnot. And it kind of came on by surprise. Like I remember just watching, hockey games or basketball games on TV, and I would see ads for the Olympics, and I'm like, that's right. Then in and about the last, I'd say, week leading up to the actual launch of the Olympics, I was following it pretty closely. I started to follow a lot of accounts on Twitter that were following the Olympics and, leading in coverage and whatnot, and I felt really connected to all the events going on, curling and the long jump and hockey and all that stuff, and it was fun, but it seems like the actual events went by really, really quick, because it was a continuous thing. Every day for several weeks, there was an event. And there were lots of interesting things that happened. There were some really shocking injuries, and then there were also some really cool moments, both for the women and the men's teams, respectively, as well. Lots of cool curling matches. I think I watched more curling than any other event in this bout of the Olympics, but I think kind of the crown jewel of everything was hockey. Getting to see many games won in overtime and getting to see, the quote-unquote, miracle on ice happen again. Not to the same extent, of course, because that was set in an entirely different, political climate with different opponents, so on and so forth. But to see America come out on top, like, hoorah for all my fellow patriots out there. But, for all the opponents, for all the other respective, nations putting out their best athletes on the world stage like that. It was a lot of fun for those weeks. But yeah, now it's gone. It just feels like, okay, now what? And I know we have the Summer Olympics coming up, in less than 2 years, because it'll come in 2028 and whatnot. But it feels kind of odd to have this thing, be so hyped and then to have it not seemingly hold an impact, at least in my opinion. And I don't mean that in a degrading way. Again, from the events that I saw of the Olympics, it was great, very very entertaining, very informative too. But yeah, it just seemed like it came in and went. And so I'm hoping that when the Summer Olympics come around in 2028, that it frankly has more of a long-lasting impression. Again, in my opinion, perhaps you were watching day in and day out, and if you were, God bless you. But for me, it seemed like it was just like, oh yeah, the Olympics, or oh yeah, I'm watching basketball on one screen, and I'll make sure to catch curling on the other, stuff like that. I don't know how the 2028 Olympics are going to go. They're being hosted, I believe, in Los Angeles. So they're being hosted in America, I believe, and who knows if we can host something of that size. I know that the last host, who who was the last host of the Olympics? I can't even remember them now. But there was all this quote unquote controversy that they weren't going to get the facilities ready in time and whatnot. That the athletes were disappointed with the lack of amenities and whatnot. Again, I have no idea. Could all just be conjecture. But that was just some talk that I saw on Twitter, again, leading up to the actual launch of the Olympics. But again, from what I saw, it was all sunshine and rainbows. So, take that for what it's worth. But yeah, the Olympics, the Winter Olympics are done. And I wish that it would have persisted, especially for myself, being where I live. I live in the Midwest. I live in North Dakota. We're on the door of April at the time of this recording. And we just had snow this morning. There's been times in North Dakota where we have snow year round. So we're kind of always ready for winter, and for the quote unquote winter season to be kind of just, done in terms of the Olympics. I don't know. Just for myself, feels a little odd. But, again, I enjoyed watching the Olympics for what they were, and I look forward to the Summer Olympics when they come in 2028. And also, kids, keeping it in the world of culture, I want to get a little political now, just for a minute, because there have been so many things that have happened in terms of politics that I want to talk about as well. Funny enough, I was actually supposed to have some guests on that wanted to discuss some of these topics I'm going to bring up. And, it's not like, we had this, horrible split or whatnot. It was truly just due to scheduling issues that we weren't able to get together at the times we had originally lined out for us. But hey, that's quite all right. They still have expressed interest and whatnot. So I'm not trying to put the cart in front of the horse for anything. I'm just saying that, like, there were some people who were like, "Oh, don't talk about that," because I want to talk about that later. And it's like, we missed that window. But that's okay. That's okay, because if they ever manage to get back to coming on to the Far Out podcast, then we'll just talk about those topics anyway, because in a way they're kind of timeless. They're things that we can look back on through the history books and still find interesting things to discuss. But yeah, kids, the world moves a mile a minute. Under the Trump administration, again, for America, if there's any international listeners, lots of stuff is happening. Venezuela got taken over inside of like 4 days, something like that. That was truly a blink and you'll miss it moment. I remember I went to bed that night, nothing had happened. I woke up and suddenly we had just, overthrown the dictatorship there, which is, pretty crazy. For a guy like me who loves to monitor situations, I completely missed out on the monitoring. So, there's that. So whatever. Normally I'm up all night with my spreadsheets and my clipboards and I'm monitoring all my social medias, but nope, I had no idea this was going to happen. I don't think anybody knew this was going to happen, to be honest. And by the time it was over, it was just this big, gigantic blur of military expertise and whatnot. Of course, there have been lots of jokes going on about how this is, given Call of Duty some more fuel in their tank for the next 3 years or something. Who knows what's going to happen. But yeah, it is interesting though that we have taken over, we as Americans have quote unquote taken over Venezuela. Kind of remains to be seen what will come of that in terms of what the new politics will look like and what that means for fuel and whatnot. Again, in the immediate aftermath, there was this idea, this kind of jokey, maybe not so jokey thing, that our gasoline prices were going to be really, really low, under $2, under $1.75 perhaps even. And I would have loved that. and then that never happened. And in fact, again, at the time of this recording, the U.S. has launched some strikes in Iran, and we're working on doing some stuff and some junk over there. Again, I am speaking pretty loosely on all of these things because I am just not well educated on either of these topics. And again, I was going to have on guests who would have provided a level of quote unquote expertise and education on these topics. But again, I digress, and I'm not throwing stones at them. It was simply due to scheduling errors. But again, I just want to talk about this stuff because I feel like every day there's always something new. Like, I kind of thought Venezuela was going to be the hot button thing to talk about for like a couple of months, and it only made it a couple of weeks. And then Iran happened, and so now I need to kind of get out in front of this stuff. But yeah, so Venezuela falls, we take it over, hoorah, yay for patriotism, and all that stuff. And I thought gas prices were going to be, in the dirt. Would have been great for me, And then we go and we launch this stuff in Iran, and I agree that something should have happened. Much like Venezuela, I think that America does have a hand to play in regimes that are legitimately bad. And look, there are people that live in America who think that our current political system, whether it's Republican or Democrat, is legitimately bad as well. And I'm open to hearing those arguments, and I mean this sincerely. If you are someone who holds that opinion and you want to come on this very podcast, for example, and talk about that, that's great. You should just know that I am a Christian and I'm a conservative as well. I'm a proud patriot. I kneel for the cross and I stand for the flag. So that's my MO. But I'm not blind to this. I'm not drunk on the red, white, and blue. I acknowledge that America has its own issues as well. Some really, really bad, but some not nearly as bad as other countries. And so when I hear that we're going in and we're disrupting these truly legitimate strongholds on Venezuela and on Iraq and so on and so forth, for me, that's something I can get behind, morally speaking. Politically, financially speaking, that's where things require more nuance. And so now, again, at the time of this recording being March 27th, gas prices are as high as they've ever been. Excuse me. The last time I remember prices being this high, we're now over. I think the national average is like $4 a gallon. For myself, being in North Dakota, it's hovering around like the 330, 340 range. The last time I saw these prices were under the Joe Biden administration. And again, you look back in the history books on that administration, whether you're a Republican, Democrat, Independent, who cares? I think we can all acknowledge that there was a lot that was left to be desired under that political administration. And for myself, I felt it via the gas prices, and I felt it via the grocery prices and all that stuff. And I don't like that we appear to be regressing back into that zone under the Trump administration, because again, I'm a conservative, and so I voted for him. I'll fully admit that. And so again, this is where I think a true, genuine conversation is so important for this stuff. It's more important than me just giving my opinion. I wish that there were other people who could literally play this game of tennis back and forth with me before we could talk about this stuff. And so again, truly, sincerely, if you're someone who wants to come on and talk about this stuff, please just reach out, and we can discuss this. And again, to my guests that were going to come on, and it just didn't work out because of scheduling. Again, no hard feelings. You know who you are, and I know that you're listening, and I appreciate you very much. But we'll make sure to get you back on again at some point. But yeah, again, really just to kind of put a bow on this whole thing is that I'm still a conservative, but like, man, just lately there's just been the whole kind of Trump administration type deal has really been a roller coaster for me. And it's I don't know, it's just, it's interesting. I like to listen to a lot of conservative radio, and I like to listen to a lot of, more kind of liberal radio as well. Like, I've said before, I'm a big fan of Bill Maher, that I really appreciate his commentary and all this stuff. And, I think we're just kind of getting to a point to where I think that we need some new blood in our political system. I think that, by the time Trump's second term finishes and he's out of office, I think we'll be at a good point to where it's like, hey, thank you for your service. you did some things that are really good, some things that could be improved upon, but now it's time to move on. I think we're going to get to that point eventually. And if you're already at that point, then I hope that you can just kind of take solace in the fact that, things, maybe they're not as bad as they once were. And I think that they will genuinely get better, but you gotta be patient. And this is also something to where I think that, again, I'm a Christian and I'm a conservative, and I say that very deliberately. I'm a Christian first, conservative second. Again, I kneel for the cross, stand for the flag, stuff like that. Okay, my Christian faith comes first, and this is really important because when your team, quote unquote, fails you or goes in a way that you're not particularly in favor of, what else can you fall back on? Again, the earth will disappoint you. The earth will fail you. It will lead to ruin. Yes, everything looks like it's covered in sugar and sweetness and it's everlasting, but it's not. It's fool's gold. And when the chips are down and when you don't know where to turn, you have to turn to something beyond yourself, beyond another person, beyond another head of state. You have to turn to an almighty creator. If you're going to do that, I recommend that you turn to the one true creator, that being Jesus Christ, that being our true Lord and Savior. Look to the Holy Trinity, look to the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Again, whether you are, 15, 25, 35, 55, 95, it doesn't matter. You can learn this stuff. You can absorb this information. And I ask that you consider praying, that you pick up a Bible and that you read it, that you absorb Scripture somehow. And if you have the ability and if you have the willpower, that you go to church. And I say that as someone who, even for myself, that is hard for me to do sometimes. My church attendance is very spotty, and that's because I've had some bad experiences with church, Not that I'm necessarily scared of it, but I have frankly had more nourishing experiences with Scripture, with quote-unquote holiness, outside of the church than I've had inside of the church. Again, I'm not meaning to paint all of church, with one broad brush. I'm just saying that for myself, that is still something that takes a bit more extra effort for me to get into, whereas reading Scripture is quite literally almost a daily thing for me. Again, I wish it was daily, but I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I don't, read any Scripture, for a day or whatnot. But I do pray legitimately every day, and there is something very, very helpful with that, knowing that the Lord is listening 24/7, 365, and that He's even beyond our own time itself. And again, I know that this sounds all pie in the sky and sounds all kind of hippie weirdo, stuff like that. But again, sincerely, if you've listened to the podcast, you know what I think, what I believe, and I believe this to be true. I believe that Jesus Christ did die for our sins, and that by believing in Him and that confessing our sins, and that by fearing the Lord as well, that we can achieve eternal life through Him. And following the Christian tenets does not mean you're going to have an easy life. Again, the Lord sets out a very defined roadmap for how you are to live life. And in that, there are some sacrifices that have to be made. There are some hard decisions that you will have to make as well. And there's going to be lots of forces pushing against you throughout your new walk with life. But you are going to be literally born again, not only on this earth, but then when your time comes, when you pass on from this world to the next, you are going to be reborn again as well. And though the road to get there might seem hard, and it might even seem lonely at times too, it is worth it in the end. You have to think long term with all this stuff as well. And there are short-term gains that can be, gained as well. There certainly are. I've seen some in my own life since I've become a born-again Christian. But yeah, when you need to think about this beyond just tomorrow or the next month or even the next year. You need to think about this in terms of the next life as well. And not just for your own life, but for the lives of those around you. I'm someone who wants to, have a wife and kids some days, Lord willing, and I intend to teach these tenets unto my children so that they can do that for their children and their children and their children. And this is something that I intend to be taught down for as long as humanly possible. Long after I'm dead, I hope that whatever lessons I can impart onto my kids get imparted onto their kids, and so on and so forth. But even those lessons, they don't come from myself. Again, they come from an understanding of Scripture, of the Lord, of knowing the purpose of life and the state of the universe and the importance of creation and the importance of just trying to do what is right and understanding that spiritual warfare is real. And it's going to be hard, but it's worth it, and it is never too late to start over. Never, never, ever, ever. There are people who go through the quote-unquote church system from the time that they are born. I, for myself, I picked it up in my early 20s, and now here I am, entering into my late 20s. But even then, too, as well, I can't think of the exact scripture, so I'm not going to be able to quote the exact scripture I want to, but I'm going to essentially quote kind of the overall theme of this, the synopsis of this, a container for the scripture that I want to convey here. During the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, again, there's, he is the central figure in the crucifixion, but you have to remember as well, during the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, there are two other people on that mountain with him being crucified. So there's a total of three. So again, during that time, while everything is happening and everything is coming to pass and all that stuff, one of the people being crucified alongside Jesus Christ, he turns to him in seemingly what is his last breath, and he himself is a criminal. He is someone who has, been determined by the people of that time to warrant a punishment and a death, that is the crucifixion. And he turns to Jesus and he says, please, remember me, forgive me. He, in his last moments, in his final minutes of living, he turns to Jesus and he's like, I see you, I acknowledge you. What you were saying, you were right, and you're being killed in front of me right now. But please, before I die, please, acknowledge my wrongdoings and wipe them away. Please, I submit to you. And the Lord says, he says, truly I say to you, you will be remembered, in the next life. You will live in the next life. Again, I apologize for not having the exact quotation for what I'm trying to say here, but the point of what I'm saying is that is literally a deathbed confession that altered the life of someone. This man who was being crucified alongside Jesus in his last and final moments, he says, Lord, I submit to you, forgive me, you are the way. And Jesus turns to him and he says, you will be with me. I will remember you. That's that. Again, that is not an excuse to necessarily live a scot-free life, to just live a life of callousness, and then on your deathbed think, okay, Lord, here I am, take me. But that is to say that even if you feel quote-unquote lost, right up until the very end, Jesus can find you, and you can find him too. And so, yeah, again, my apologies for kind of the rambling of this whole deal. Putting together this episode has been not difficult because, again, this is a hobby at the end of the day, but there's just, again, as I said, there's so much I want to talk about. And again, I'm working with a new laptop, and I'm working with, trying to get files transferred over from one laptop to the next. And I've got all this stuff going on with my job, and I got stuff going on, with my finances. There's just a lot of life going on at this point in time. But yeah, I think that for whatever it's worth, whatever quote unquote evangelism that this podcast can provide, also in terms of entertainment as well, because that's kind of how I wanted this whole thing to be. Is I wanted it to be educational and entertaining at the same time, and in that as well, if it can also be a source of evangelism, then I want it to be that as well. So yeah, again, in conclusion, the Olympics have come and gone. Our current political system is, needs to kind of get their stuff together, and Jesus Christ is the one true way. He is the Lord and Savior. He is the Alpha and the Omega. Believe in the Trinity. Put your faith in him. And you will live a better life on Earth. You will feel more spiritually fulfilled by doing so, and then in the end, when your time on Earth is over, you will reap an eternal reward with Him in salvation. And what could be better than that? Keeping it with culture, kids, not something nearly as serious as talking about salvation, but still somewhat serious in terms of our lives on Earth here. As I've talked about before, the NASA organization, the organization known as NASA, we are gearing up to quote unquote return to the moon with the Artemis program. Again, there's Artemis 1 that you can read up on. We are now in quite literally, supposedly, the final days of preparation for Artemis 2. And this is a launch that is scheduled tentatively for April 1st at the time of this recording, though again, this was previously scheduled to launch in March, but we had to move that due to some issues happening with the actual spacecraft itself, as well as, I believe, some weather patterns as well. Again, there are full reports that you can read via NASA themselves, because they have released very updated logs and stuff of what's going on. Their record keeping is astonishing. But also, while we eagerly await the launch of Artemis 2, again, possibly scheduled for as early as April 1st, though I'm hoping it hangs on till April 30th, because that is my birthday, so it would be very, very awesome if there was an actual space launch that happened on my birthday. While we look ahead to Artemis 2, which will launch and lead this expedition, quote unquote, to the moon. However, we are not going to land on the moon per se. We are quite literally just going to do a flyby of it. We're going to orbit it, and our crew there is going to look at it and go, yep, she looks good. I think we're ready to return. They are then going to return back to Earth, and then we're going to log all the findings and all the research. We're going to test stuff out. And then before, the plan was to then have Artemis 3 be the return to the moon proper. But no. Now, kids, Artemis 2 is still as planned, again, doing a lunar flyby, so to speak, return to Earth. Then Artemis 3 will now be a new low Earth orbit, which will test operations between spacecrafts, dealing with the Orion spacecraft, as well as some technology from SpaceX and Blue Origin as well. So we are going to be doing more orbit-based technology testing. And then, kids, then Artemis 4 is when we are planning to return to the moon. So, yes, kids, the launch of Artemis 2 has not been delayed any further. Again, it is still scheduled for April 1st, though, again, that could change. But what has been delayed has been the return to the moon. We have now added a whole new mission to the Artemis catalog. And while we have to wait longer, potentially months, if not years longer, for the proper return to the moon, where we get astronauts back on the moon, I think that this is still a good thing, because I think that that the launch of Artemis 2 and so on and so forth, I think it does introduce us back to a new kind of space race. I think that we as people, we as, Americans, as Canadians, as, whatever nationality you identify, leaving that at the door, I think for the sake of humanity, we as humans need a new sense of exploration. We need a new space race. And I think that the Artemis program is going to spark that back in the public consciousness. And as for myself, at least, I'd like to think I'm all in on space exploration and what's happening with space and what could happen with space. And Artemis 1 just completely flew past me, pun intended. And now I'm very happy to have caught up to Artemis 2 when I did, so that I can potentially get to watch a real lunar launch happening, lunar adjacent, I guess I should say. And then comes 3 and comes 4. And so for me, learning that we're just going to get more of this is just awesome. But I think that this stuff is important, and it might be disappointing to some. It might be disappointing, especially to those who, were scheduled to be part of, the lunar team going on Artemis 3, and then have to wait to go, on Artemis 4. But, I digress. But as I said earlier, NASA has released a bunch of information. They have released behind the scenes stuff. They have released audio logs. They've got podcasts and pictures and maps and everything you could think of. All the information that you want to possibly absorb on the Artemis program is just at your fingertips. And I think it's a really unique time to be a fan of, again, of space in general, but also the idea of exploration beyond just Earth, about literally returning to the stars in a big bad way and returning to the moon also in a big bad way as well. And so, yes, Artemis 2 is tentatively scheduled for April 1st, barring some, unforeseen circumstances, meaning we are just days away from another launch here. And then we have Artemis 3 and 4 to look forward to. And so, yeah, I think it's a really, really cool time to be just invested in all this stuff. And I think it's a really interesting time to also just, want to learn more about this kind of stuff as well. And so if you're someone who is curious about, NASA returning to the moon and what it means beyond just the moon, because again, the moon itself is quote unquote the end game, but it's not the true end game, because even with the moon, we're kind of viewing that as almost like a pit stop and a testing ground to eventually get to Mars. Like, that's kind of our new end game. That's like the end game to the end game type stuff. Will that happen in my lifetime? I don't know. If NASA can hold true to their schedules and can launch on time and land on time and all that stuff, then maybe. But as I just said, Artemis 2 got delayed, and now we're adding in a whole nother Artemis launch to the schedule as well. Again, I'm complaining about a good thing, but as someone who wants to see this stuff get off the ground, again, no pun intended, I want this to get going, and I want the moon missions to go well, and I want the Mars missions, to go well as well. My only two requests are that Artemis 2 launch on April 30th, my birthday. Again, very selfishly, but I understand. My second request is to you, the faithful listener. Kids, please, continue to look up. Continue to wonder. Continue to ask questions about all this stuff. And continue to have a sense of exploration, as it is not going to slow down anytime soon. And, the final frontier, as the crew of the Enterprise on Star Trek would say, simply awaits, and we only need to go out and search far and wide into the unknown regions of space. All right, kids, let's now get into the world of sports for a bit here. And I'm going into this one with a couple of deflated tires here, because I will be optimistic in the end. However, to get to said optimism, I need to push through some mud first. My Minnesota Vikings, my number one favorite football team, are making some decisions that I find to be just really odd. And very simply, they are against what I would want the team to do. However, I'm just the humble fan. I'm not a part of the organization, and they are not calling me for any kind of advice, tips, or to make any decisions. I am simply just offering up my opinion for whatever it's worth on a football team that frankly doesn't really know I exist. However, I have met some of the players, and I like to think that they remember me. Shout out to you, Van Ginkel. But beyond that, who the heck knows where I fall with the Minnesota Vikings. That being said, I still feel that my opinion holds some weight, at least for you, the listeners, and so I will share it nonetheless. So kids, as you've heard many times before, and you will hear many times after, regardless of what happens in the future, kids, I was there when J.J. McCarthy was drafted for the Minnesota Vikings. I was in U.S. Bank Stadium, home of the Minnesota Vikings, at their draft party. And I was there, kids, when the news broke with the whatever overall pick, the Minnesota Vikings have selected J.J. McCarthy, and the place went, wow. And the fireworks went off, and we were doing skull chants, and I was high-fiving strangers. We were cheering, and we went, oh my gosh, the future has arrived. Where were you when this happened? Where was I? I was at U.S. Bank Stadium. Where were you? I ask. Well, McCarthy has had a rocky go of it since then. He's had some flashes with some good games, and then I can't deny it, he's had a streak of poor sportsmanship. I mean, not sportsmanship. I don't mean to seem like he's been kind of, a bum or whatnot. Though, if you follow some of the reporting of him off the field, who knows? And that's not even a slight against him. I'm just talking about what other members of other NFL organizations have said about him, but I can neither confirm nor deny that. What I've seen and heard of J.J. McCarthy personally has been nothing but good. That he's patient, that he wants to serve the team and make his coaches and his teammates proud. I've even seen videos of him like high-fiving the security staff at a football game, like prior to the kickoff and whatnot. But to be honest, the coaching staff, led by Kevin O'Connell, KOC, of the Vikings, he's done the podcast circuits and the radio circuits over the years, talking about very publicly about how he is not overall impressed with J.J. McCarthy. He's essentially alluded to some quote-unquote immaturity and stuff like that, and he's essentially airing out dirty laundry in public. Again, whether or not that's true, I'm not sure. But the fact of the matter is that McCarthy, as a player, as an individual, as a young man, who I believe is 23, so he's younger than me, I have nothing to the contrary I've only heard that he keeps this stuff close to the vest. I've heard that he doesn't gossip. He doesn't let this stuff get out of the locker room. If anything, he talks among his good friends, his teammates, his wife, whoever, and they just leave it at that. They let work be at work, home be at home. And again, just from the stuff I've seen in the Vikings media circuit, and I am tapped in. I'm following multiple pages on Twitter. I listen to multiple Vikings podcasts. I'm in. Okay, inject the purple into my veins. I've seen the coaching staff be like, yeah, look, J.J. McCarthy, good kid. He made some decisions that I wouldn't make when I was his age, and, he's got a long way to go, but, what are you going to do when you're a young guy? You're going to be a little immature. I mean, there's stuff like that. There's just these subtle, not so subtle digs at people, or at him, I should say. And it's kind of rubbing me the wrong way. So much so that I think it's rubbing the fan base the wrong way, too, because there's this growing animosity between the J.J. McCarthy fans, such as myself, and the coaching staff. I think that there is eternal friction led by Kevin O'Connell against McCarthy, and that is manifesting into friction between the sections of the fan base at large. Again, maybe I'm too deep in the purple Twitter sphere and the purple media sphere, but again, I'm just reporting what I've read from other reports. So don't shoot the messenger, especially not the second messenger. But I digress. The Vikings have made some bananas decisions at QB recently. They have J.J. McCarthy. He is a first-round pick. You might not think he deserved to be picked in the first round, but he did. I believe he was signed to a 4-year contract. His first year, he gets hurt, so technically his second year becomes his first year playing. He goes out and does a so-so job. I believe with the Vikings having finished their 2025 season at 9-8, I think he himself went 6-4, I think, 7-6. He for sure had a positive record. When he was at the helm, he had a positive record. The exact numbers escape me. But still, you can go into the individual games. You could see he's throwing interceptions. He's throwing inaccurate passes. He's scrambling kind of weird. He's throwing off of a weird back foot. When he rushes, he likes to go head first as opposed to shoulder first. He's pretty much just making himself injury prone. In fact, he is kind of injury prone because he has hurt, I believe, his ankle, his hand, and his shoulder, and his head. Don't quote me on all that. But he has been banged up pretty good. Some of his injuries are kind of self-inflicted because, as I said, he doesn't really know how to protect himself. But again, I digress. Point being is that I'm a fan of his. I'm in on him. I'm all in on him. I think he's the face of the franchise, for better or for worse. I think he's it. And I think that we as an organization and we as a fan base need to allow him the time to simply grow and marinate beyond just 1 year. And yes, technically on the books, it's year 2 in the book, now year 3 coming up. But again, he's only had 1 genuine year of playtime, and he didn't even get a full season because he was hurt. But again, whatever. But I think he's the future. Well, the people that make the decisions, the front office, coaching staff, Kevin O'Connell, trainers, what have you, they have a different idea of the future because the Vikings have signed 2 new QBs, one of them being a returning QB in Carson Wentz, good North Dakota boy. Thank you for your service at the time, Mr. Wentz. The last time he was here, though, his arm freaking fell out of its socket, and he left it on the field, especially when we faced the Chargers. He was not exceptional, though it was amazing to see him be in purple. Again, he's a North Dakota boy, so to see him represent his home team, that's tremendous. But more recently now is that the Vikings have signed another overall first round pick in Kyler Murray, who's formerly with the Arizona Cardinals, and I don't get it. I don't get it. Again, he's another former first-round overall pick. In fact, I think he went first in the first round. I think he was the number 1 overall pick in his draft class. Again, don't quote me on that, but you can fact-check me at any time as I offer my commentary on the Vikings. But he and McCarthy are very much in a similar boat. They're young talent, poised to be the faces of their respective franchise, both taken in the first round, and they've kind of had middling results. Kyler Murray has had better results, than J.J. McCarthy. I won't argue that. But there's a reason why Kyler Murray was available. Okay, you got to think about that. Yeah, the Vikings picked him up, but why was he available? If he's that good, if he's that hot, if he has that much potential, why would the Cardinals let him go? Has anyone bothered to ask that? So the Vikings have bolstered their QB room, and I don't think they're doing it around J.J. McCarthy. Because, again, at the time of this recording, I believe that their QB room, and this is in no particular order right now, the names on this spreadsheet somewhere, on this clipboard, are J.J. McCarthy, Kyler Murray, Carson Wentz, and Max Brosner. I think that's the 4. And I'm really curious about this, and I'm kind of miffed by it as well, because in them signing Kyler Murray, this reorganizes their priorities here. What bothers me to no end is that just as how some fans seem to have no patience for J.J. McCarthy to grow into the franchise QB that I know he could be, it seems that the organization himself, his own team, doesn't seem to have that faith in him either. Because now it appears that Kyler Murray has been signed to be the new QB1, with Carson Wentz being the bona fide QB2, making J.J. McCarthy a QB3. Maybe even a QB4. You could have that debate between him and, I just said his name, Max Brosner. Yeah. Former Gopher. And for me, the reestablishment of this hierarchy, look, they can call it whatever they want. They have claimed up and down, it's an open training camp. May the best man win. We don't know who's going to be QB1. And that might be true to a degree. It might be. But I think if you actually ask them off the mic, in private, over dinner sometime, I think anyone would say, yeah, we intend Kyler Murray to start. We also intend to have Carson Wentz be the backup should he implode. And there's a chance Kyler Murray could implode too. He's not some golden goose. Again, if he was as cool and as good and as Gucci as everyone thinks he's going to be, then why did the Cardinals let him go? I just find it completely asinine that you have your franchise QB who is a number 1 overall pick in the first round, who's a number 1 who went in the first round. Pardon me, I'm getting him and Kyler Murray mixed up. You have J.J. McCarthy, first round QB, okay? First in franchise history to do this. Hence why I was there in the stadium, because it was literally making team history to have selected a QB in the first round. You got him. and now you just have to mold him like clay. And the staffing team over at Vikings HQ are like, we don't want to. We're kind of sick of this. We're getting bored of it. We don't have the patience for this. Kyler Murray, come save us, please. And it's like, why? Why are we doing this? Look, in this offseason, I knew it was going to be a colorful one, not just purple. Look at the league just wide. The whole league has changed 6 different ways to Sunday. And look, to be honest, there were rumors that with McCarthy kind of being on the back burner, that the Vikings were reportedly going to go, quote unquote, big game hunting. And the name I heard more consistently than any other QB was that we were looking at Joe Burrow. Joey Burrow from the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, you can choose to believe these reports. You can choose to not believe these reports. But if you look at the tea leaves and you see how the Bengals have done as a franchise and as a team, and if you look at how Joey Burrow himself has done as the QB of that team, they have not had a good relationship. It's been very tenuous. Joey Burrow is easily a top 10 quarterback, if not top 5. I will have that conversation. He might even be top 4. Who knows? Let's have that conversation. But he is getting hurt. He is not getting his due. He should be a deep playoff contender every freaking season. And the Cincinnati Bengals are not doing him any favors. It's a very similar situation to the Minnesota Vikings in that I feel that we have good QB talent. Of course, Joey Burrow is on a completely different planet compared to like J.J. McCarthy. But they also have a stud wide receiver in Jamar Chase. The Vikings have Justin Jefferson. So you have talent in both positions, wide receiver and QB. And again, take your pick at who runs their QB system and whatnot. Again, you compare Kirk Cousins to Joey Burrow. You compare any QB of the last 10 years that the Vikings have had to Joey Burrow, you're going to take Joey Burrow over any of them. I don't blame you. Okay, I can understand that. My point is that there is depth that goes beyond just the quarterback for both the Bengals and the Vikings. However, the two most premium spots, the prime rib spots, so to speak, are the QB and the wide receiver. The Bengals have that in spades with Joey Burrow and Jamar Chase. The Vikings have that in insert quarterback here and Justin Jefferson. And there was an idea that the Vikings wanted Joey Burrow because he and Justin Jefferson are friends. They're buddy-buddy, chummy-chummy. They send each other Christmas cards, and they call each other 4 times a day, stuff like that. And so there was this idea that Joey Burrow wanted out of Cincinnati, that he was over it. He was having a hard time with it all. Yes, he was going to miss his friends like Jamar Chase, but he was like, I can't. I'm in the prime of my life. In fact, I might even be on the downturn now of my prime, having wasted my prime with the Cincinnati Bengals, and I need to go somewhere else before my time expires. And supposedly, the Vikings were batting their eyelashes at him, saying, please, why don't you come talk to us for a little bit? We got Justin Jefferson, why don't you come over here, Mr. Burrow? So, look, if there's any validity to those reports that was actually a possibility, I would be all in favor of it. Yeah, I'm also looking at J.J. McCarthy saying he's the franchise QB, but if we could get 2, 3, heck, even 4 more years out of Joey Burrow, then so be it. If I had to pick between betting on Joe Burrow and J.J. McCarthy, I would have bet Joey Burrow. Okay, J.J. McCarthy could have possibly had a longer tenure with the Vikings given his development time and whatnot. I believe he could stay with this team for 10 years. I'm not even kidding. I think he could legitimately be the quarterback of the Vikings for 10 years. Joey Burrow, I think at max you're getting 4 more years before you have to start shopping him around again. Who knows? But again, if you get Joey Burrow on the Vikings, the Super Bowl becomes a very, very real possibility. Very real. Like, we go from 3% to 30% overnight. So, look, if the Vikings were going to go QB shopping, you should have gone big game hunting. You should have. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't, who knows. If they did make a run at Joey Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals took their phone call and said, screw you, and then hung up, okay, that's fine. At least you took your shot, so to speak. What I think you then should have done is you should have backed off from big game hunting, and you should have regrouped and refocused on your budding prodigy in J.J. McCarthy here. I think you should have put all the eggs into his basket. Yet again, they seem to be pivoting now to an entirely different QB room, where J.J. McCarthy is not even number one. He's not even number two. He's now an afterthought. Could be QB 3 or 4. Kind of rambling, kind of stumbling, kind of bumbling. But I'm just so mad because I think J.J. McCarthy is the future, and I love this team. But my gosh, I do not love the decisions that they have made thus far. Okay, and I'm still raw about Adam Thielen pulling that bullcrap last year. Oh my gosh, I know he just retired as a quote-unquote Viking, but he didn't finish as a Viking, okay? He came back from the Panthers, and he was with the Vikings for, 75% of a year. Then he realized we were losing, and then he said, I can't, man. I'm going to retire, man. I need to go somewhere hot, man, where I can possibly get a ring, man. Let me go to the Steelers, man. And the Vikings very freaking graciously said, sure, Adam Thielen, you go right ahead. Go play the remainder of the season. Go play your 3 or 4 games with the Steelers. Oh, and look what happened. Look what happened. Look what happened, Adam Thielen. Then you come back and say, hi, can I retire in purple, please? Pretty please, pretty please. And it's like, get out of here. Get out of here. Adam Thielen, I'm so upset with you. I'm so mad. Okay? Adam Thielen should have committed to the Vikings in the end, and the Vikings in the end should commit to J.J. McCarthy. I am not interested in the Kyler Murray experiment. Okay? Look, I will happily eat my words, a crow, and a shoe if Kyler Murray leads us into a deep playoff run and who knows, takes us to the Super Bowl. If that happens, I will eat my words and a shoe and a crow. But I don't think that's going to happen. Let's just be realistic. Okay, Kyler Murray is not some diamond in the rough. I think he has a little bit of juice left in the tank, but if you expect him to go through QB rehab school like everybody else has, I don't think it's going to work. Sam Darnold is the poster child for that because he literally did go through a QB rehab school with the Vikings and then went on to win the Superb Owl with the Seahawks. Okay, then we had Daniel Jones for a bit. He left to go play for the Colts. He did really well with the Colts as well before he blew out his leg. So there is some credence to this QB rehab school type deal that the Vikings have under Kevin O'Connell. But for whatever reason, it's not working with J.J. McCarthy. And Kevin O'Connell has said it is not young QBs that fail organizations. It is organizations that fail QBs. And that is a direct quote. I have that tattooed in my brain. He himself said that. He was talking about that in reference to, I believe, Caleb Williams. What's the guy on the Panthers? I can't remember his name now. Son of a biscuit. Is it Bryce Young? I think that's his name. He was talking about all these new young QB talents as well. Anthony Richardson with the Colts as well. He was talking about how young QBs do not fail organizations. Organizations fail QBs. Talking about how they are not ready for infrastructure that is that multi-layered. And Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback to ever do it, he has also echoed similar sentiments, talking about how being a young QB is terrible because you are a small fish in a big pond and you are told to swim against the current because you are learning everything on the fly and you have the whole coaching staff and the whole locker room and all the fan base is looking at you saying, go win us a trophy, and you don't know what to do. Okay? Gosh, it took time for the Panthers to get good with their QB. It took time for the Bears to get good with their QB. It takes time for the Vikings to get good with their QB, but they don't want to put in the time. And I'm so mad because I don't want to put the time into the team that doesn't want to put time into a freaking prospect that I think has this much upside and this much fan morale behind it. And you might think, fan morale, where is it? I can't see it. I hate J.J. McCarthy. I want him gone. Maybe I'm in a vacuum, but I'm speaking from pure passion. I feel like part of my freaking fandom is being insulted by this crap going on here. And yeah, you're talking about purple rain for when the Vikings are doing great, purple drought for when they lose. For me right now, purple leak. Okay, I feel like I'm leaking. Okay, I'm not in the mood right now for the Vikings. Of course, ask me in a couple of months when preseason comes up and week 1 is on the horizon, and I will surely be in my local sports bar, repping all my purple gear, and I'll be cheering on my team. But my gosh, the decisions that they've made at QB are making me so freaking angry. And man, it's just I was there. Okay, we were told that this was it. This is the future. And look, JJ McCarthy might not be the guy. We might be wrong. We might have all been wrong. Okay, I might have been wrong, but I don't think we've given him the shot, the proper chance to see if he is wrong or not. I don't think he's had enough time. I really don't. And you might think 1 year, 2 years. How much more time do you need? Give me one more year. Seriously, give me one more year. Let him be QB1. If he's QB1 the whole way through 2026 and he blows a flat again, okay, I concede. I understand. He couldn't do it. He couldn't do it in 2.5 years, 2 years, whatever. Okay, I concede. But the idea that we're going to shelve him or potentially trade him to get some draft picks back, I'm so upset by it. I'm so upset by it. I hope that doesn't happen. I hope they continue to build him and build around him and not lose faith in him, because I swear, in the same way we let Sam Darnold go and he goes on to Seattle and wins the Super Bowl, that was a huge embarrassment for the Vikings. Just was. Okay? If we let J.J. McCarthy go, pick a team, any team, doesn't matter where he goes, say the Raiders, who cares? Say he goes to the Raiders and they make at most a playoff run, we're going to be viewed as another big embarrassment again because we let another hot young QB go. Darnold wasn't that hot, or Darnold wasn't that young, but you know what I mean. I wish we would all take a purple chill pill and just slow down. And yeah, again, I'm kind of talking incoherently here. I'm kind of rambling and whatnot. And I hope all my points have made sense, but I'm speaking from the heart. I think McCarthy is the future. I really do. And the fact that the Vikings seem to not think that after such a small sample size just really, really bums me out. And yeah, it's hard to be a Vikings fan right now. And I'm not looking forward to the future right now. Again, ask me in a couple of months how I'm feeling, and I'm sure my interest will rise. But just, man, right now, I'm looking at the Vikings, and I genuinely want to know, what are you doing? And I'm upset at Kevin O'Connell, and I'm kind of hating on Murray prematurely here, but that's just how I feel right now. And I really just want JJ McCarthy to just go out there and play and just prove himself. If he, I want him to get his shot. I don't think he's had his full shot yet. Maybe you do. If you do, comment down below, let me know. But yeah, just being a Vikings fan right now is just feels pretty tough for me. I'm not gonna lie. Speaking of sports teams, it's tough to be a fan of right now. No, I'm not nearly gonna talk about them as roughly as I did the Vikings. Baseball season is back. Again, at the time of this recording, opening day has happened. Baseball season is here, and we have essentially 7 more months of baseball happening almost every single day between now and 7 months from now. So, hoorah, we made it. Soak it up. It's here. Baseball every day for the next 7 months. Let's go. And my twins have done some stuff and some junk in the off season. They've cut a lot of meat, not fat. They've cut a lot of meat, and what remains are scraps on the bones. We have Byron Buxton, we have Luke Keeschel, we have what's his face? Something Lee. It's not Bruce Lee. What's his name? Bruce Lee. What's his name? It's not Bobby Lee either. He's a shortstop. I can't think of his name. It's something Lee. I don't know. We have somewhat decent players. We had a bunch, and then the Twins cut them. They cut them all. They traded them. And at one point the Twins were up for sale. Then the Pole Lads, the team that owns the Twins, says, "Haha, you thought, psych." And they pulled them off the market or whatever. So now the team is still owned by the Pole Lads, and just it was crazy. Last year at the trade deadline, the team that you started the season with was not the team that you ended the season with, because again, everyone got traded or cut, And it was really, really sad to see because I have my phone set to alerts. Whenever the Twins do anything on Twitter, my phone goes whoop, whoop. And I mean, every 5 minutes it seemed, my phone was going whoop, whoop. So-and-so traded, whoop, whoop. So-and-so traded, whoop, whoop. So-and-so traded. And I was like, oh my gosh, can you spread it out, please? Can you spread out the punches over the course of a couple hours? No, I'm gonna get it all right now. Oh, okay. And then they'd spit on me and kick me and all that stuff. So, yeah, look, the Twins in the offseason was kind of a depressing time. But have no fear, because opening day is here. And the Twins played baseball against the Baltimore Orioles. I have been to your stadium. It's all right. I mean, respect to baseball, respect to all the teams, but, like, not the greatest stadium I've been to. Still a cool place to watch a ball game, but not my favorite park that I've been to. I digress. They played the Orioles, the Baltimore Orioles, and the Twins lost. We should not have. Okay, the Twins had multiple opportunities to win that game. I think they had bases loaded twice, at least guarantee one time. I know that for a fact. I didn't get to watch the whole game. I had to go. But I saw at least through like the sixth inning. And I'm pretty sure they had bases loaded at least twice, or a maximum of twice, at least once. Either way, we had opportunities to win the game. The Orioles beat the Twins 2-1. Okay, we should have won that game 6-2. Whatever. But yeah, look, the baseball is here, and look, as much as I'm talking down on it, I love baseball. I do. Baseball is my first sports love. It made me a true fan of just sports, the sports market in general. That led to my fandom with the Vikings, to my fandom with the Timberwolves, to my fandom with the Kansas City Royals, to, for a bit there I was a Chiefs fan. Now I'm getting into Diamondbacks baseball as well. But the Twins really did open the floodgates for me on so many different levels. And so baseball is my first true love, and I love baseball. I wish I could watch every game. I'm gonna try really hard to watch every Twins game. And even as I'm talking to you right now, yes, kids, right now as I'm recording into this mic, I am wearing a Minnesota Twins sweatshirt and I'm wearing a Kansas City Royals baseball cap because I love baseball. And look, opening day is here, and I'm so glad to have been a part of it. I went out and I got food, and I got a Pepsi, and I sat down and I watched my favorite team not play the greatest baseball I've seen in my entire life, but still, baseball is here, and I'm happy to have it back. I just wish that my favorite team, the Twins, the Twinkies, would be doing better. But look, it's early. We just got here. We're one game deep. Okay, baseball goes on for 162 games. Okay, so we have 161 more to play. But just from what I saw initially from the Twins, it was rough. I'm not gonna lie. So we'll have to work out the kinks. Again, we're here. We're a little stiff and sore. Come talk to me in May, and we'll see where we're at. But it's good to have baseball back. It's just kind of awkward being a Twins fan, knowing that a lot of the talent we formerly had is no longer here. The talent that remains is kind of being eclipsed by some up-and-comers. They could be nothing, they could be something, who knows. And I'm looking forward to seeing what the Royals do as a team as well, and also the Diamondbacks as well as I get more into their fandom. But baseball is back, and I am genuinely happy and excited to have baseball back in my life. It's just the Twins kind of ushered it in with a whimper. But again, the season is long, and if you're a baseball fan, and if you're a Twins fan, hold the line, hold the faith, and just have fun, dang it, because baseball is here for the next 7 months. So yeah, just enjoy it, man. Just enjoy it. Baseball is here, and let's have some fun with America's pastime. Alrighty, kids. Moving on into the world of pop culture, the culture that pops, as it were. There is a lot of stuff here that I want to talk about. Starting off with this. Did you know that there is another attempt at a Tomb Raider adaptation? And this time it's not a movie. No, it's a series instead, done at Amazon. And Sophie Turner is going to be playing Lara Croft, and some on-set images have been released of her in full costume. And I'll say this. I'm not particularly a fan of her, so to speak. The only thing I've really ever seen her in has been some of the later X-Men movies. And look, those movies themselves are not real great. But I also thought she herself as Jean Grey, as the Phoenix, was also kind of lackluster as well. And her stepping into the role of Laura Croft, who is essentially a female version of Indiana Jones, I don't know if she's gonna have the right energy, the right charisma to do that. Because if you look at the later Tomb Raider games, the ones released from roughly 2010 to like 2019, I think I'm off by a few years there, but I think there was either a trilogy or a series of 4 games that were released during the Xbox One era, or no, 360 to Xbox One. I played some of them. I don't think I played all of them. I played at least 2 of them, and I thought they were incredible. And then those games were what the last adaptation of Tomb Raider was based on, the one that starred Michael Fassbender's wife. Her name is Alicia Vikander. And that movie itself was good, not great. I think there was more in it that I liked than disliked, and so I'm kind of sad that they didn't continue with her in the role. She only got, 1 movie as opposed to 2 or 3 or whatnot. So I never really thought that she got her full due. And so now for Tomb Raider to come back again with a whole new actress in the lead role, and then to have it be a streaming series as opposed to a film series, I don't know. Like, look, I'm interested. I'm curious about this, but I'm not necessarily excited by it. Not yet. Again, ask me when some more official pictures come out and an official trailer comes out. But yeah, as of right now, I'm not really looking forward to this new adaptation of Tomb Raider. But again, I could easily be over one because Indiana Jones for right now is on the back burner. He's on ice. There's no plans for any future movies or any kind of series that I'm aware of. And so for this to be kind of the treasure hunting, crime fighting adventure character that's going to now take center stage for pop culture, I think Lara Croft does deserve her time to shine again. And again, those games are incredible. And so I hope that they refer back to at least the later portion of Tomb Raider games. But yeah, that all remains to be seen. But yeah, the first official look of Tomb Raider, I like what I'm seeing. I like the costumes and all that stuff. But in terms of casting and the actual delivery method of this being a series over a movie series, I'm not really feeling it just yet. But I remain hopeful nonetheless. Another thing that I remain hopeful for, but not overwhelmingly excited by, believe it or not, is an upcoming Star Wars movie that releases this May, so we're just a couple of months away. That being the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. Look, Star Wars in the movie theaters since being bought by Disney has been a mixed bag. I really enjoyed The Force Awakens. I love Rogue One. The Last Jedi is a problem. The Solo movie, the Han Solo movie, I will die on this hill. I like that movie. I think it gets better with age. I really enjoy that one. I saw that one multiple times in theaters. I think I saw it 4 times, if not 5. I really, really like that one. And then we had The Rise of Skywalker, which is also a problem, Episode 9. So it's been a mixed bag, and along the way we were supposed to get, a Boba Fett movie that turned into the Boba Fett series, which I will defend as well. We were supposed to get an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie, if not an Obi-Wan Kenobi collection of movies, potentially a trilogy. We got the series. I will defend that to the best of my ability as well. That's a little tougher. And now we've been in this dry spell of what's next for Star Wars. It's recently in the last 6-7 years since The Rise of Skywalker, it's lived exclusively on Disney Plus, the Disney Plus, to middling success. There's been some really good things and some really bad things as well, in my opinion. But Star Wars belongs in the movie theaters. It belongs in the cinema, so to speak. It is a film franchise, first and foremost. Everything else is just gravy on top of that. And so now for Star Wars to be coming back to the cinemas with this as their quote-unquote relaunch of the movie sphere, oh, I don't know. It feels kind of so. And look, the first trailer for Mandalorian and Grogu came out. I liked it, did not love it. Really enjoyed the poster. I thought the poster was amazing. And now I'm kind of flip-flopping on this newest release for The Mandalorian and Grogu. I like the trailer a lot more. Not a fan of the new poster. I think the new poster is kind of bland. Really enjoy the new trailer. What I enjoy of the new trailer is just the kind of Star Wars feel. There's some very iconic Star Wars just photography that they got in there. The X-wings, the astromech droids, some good musical stings as well. I'll say this though: the voiceover of Pedro Pascal playing Din Djarin, the Mandalorian, I think he sounds kind of bored. I'm not a fan of this audio mix that they have going on here. I don't think he's enunciating properly. Maybe I'm being too much of a super nerd. Maybe I'm splitting hairs here. But just the way that he literally sounds vocally in the trailer, I don't think mixes with the overall energy that the trailer is trying to represent. That being said, though, it is a Star Wars movie. I remain optimistic, but I gotta be honest, I am more so looking for Star Wars Starfighter, the movie coming out in 2027, as I am. I'm more looking forward to that one than I am this one coming out in just a few months. So yeah, The Mandalorian and Grogu, it's coming. I will see it. In fact, I'll probably see it more than once. But like, right now, I'm just kind of like, meh. I'm not really excited by it. But again, once it's in theaters, I could be singing a completely different tune. So we'll just have to wait and see what comes of that. The next thing that I want to talk about, speaking of sci-fi stuff, is there was a trailer for a new series, a new DC series titled Lanterns. And this is a series going on HBO Max, developed by HBO, about Green Lanterns. But boy, they have stripped away a lot of the green from this trailer, so much so that they have taken out the word green in My Green Lantern. They're simply titling it Lanterns. And look, despite me saying that, I love this trailer. Loved it. I thought it was great. Here's the thing about this approach to Green Lanterns. The Green Lantern as a character is just kind of silly. Okay, look, you could argue that all superheroes are kind of silly, but like some of them are just inherently cool. Like I think Batman is inherently cool. I think Spider-Man is inherently cool. Green Lantern, bit of a tougher climb, just in my opinion, bit of a tougher climb. He has a magical power ring that can make anything with his mind. Okay, you kind of gotta. In my opinion, he's just a little harder to digest. So, in my opinion, that kind of lends him to being a little more kind of jokey, a little more lighthearted, which is honestly what the first movie attempt of him was. You had Ryan Reynolds as Hal Jordan in that movie from 2011. I would have just won Jeopardy with that. And, that was much more of kind of a lighter tone to the whole thing, which is fine and good. I think superhero movies should be more on the lighter side. Of course, there's absolutely room for things like the Dark Knight trilogy, things for, Logan, so on and so forth. But, it really more so should be kind of a family affair type deal. I don't think every movie should be like Batman versus Superman, which is so incredibly overbearing in tone. But I don't think everything should be as jokey and comedic as, say, Guardians of the Galaxy. Though Green Lantern, I think, does more so lean towards a Guardians of the Galaxy, not only because it's a space-based character telling space-based stories, but like just the way the character has been kind of designed is, again, more for a lighter approach. Again, you even look at stuff that's been done with him via animation and like straight-to-DVD type stuff. He's, again, more kind of jokey stuff like that. And even in the latest Superman movie directed by James Gunn, you had Nathan Fillion come in to play Green Lantern, and he himself was more of kind of the comedic relief as well. Again, he also could be a bit serious in that too, but really Green Lantern was more so just kind of to add some literal color to the whole deal as well. Well, now in the Green Lantern series, simply titled Lanterns, they are taking this in a completely different direction. They're making it really serious, and this is essentially going to be a crime cop drama that has to do with like space cops and be set in space, allegedly, maybe, who knows? Because a lot of this trailer is based on like Earth-based stuff and dealing with small-town crimes and disappearances and, whatnot, and training Green Lanterns, and it's serious, and there's cursing, and there's blood, and there's all this stuff. The tone of this is very mature. not necessarily adult. It's very mature. It's saying, look, Superman, the movie, is one thing, the Green Lantern and that is one thing. This is an entirely different thing as well. They still exist in the same universe. They will cross stream, so to speak, but these are two totally different things, tonally speaking, and I love that approach. I love the fact that we're going to get multiple different tones in the new DC universe, multiple different creative interpretations of characters. I like that we're getting something more kind of mature, even R-rated in Lanterns versus the PG-13 nature of Superman. Then, of course, we're going to follow that up with the PG-13 nature of Supergirl coming out later this year. Then we also have Clayface coming out later as well, which I believe is also going to be like a rated R, like horror-esque movie as well. So I really like this trailer for Green Lanterns. Again, when you turn it on, and if you just said to someone, hey, just watch this and tell me what you think, I don't know if people would necessarily get that it's a Green Lantern show. There's several blink and you miss it nods to the Green Lantern mythos. Beyond this, though, this thing looks just like a straightforward crime drama, just a nice crime series that's being developed by HBO, which I think will be to its benefit. It's an interesting delivery device for Green Lanterns. But look, I'm looking forward to it. More prestige TV for me to watch. Yeah, sign me up. And Green Lantern, he's been overdue. Okay, he's been overdue. He has not had a movie since 2011. He had a blink and you miss it cameo in the Snyder cut of Justice League, which I thought was good. I thought the movie was good, and I thought his cameo was cool too. But he needs to come back, and James Gunn gave us a taste of that in 2025 Superman, and now the Lantern TV show appears to be capitalizing on that. So I'm looking forward to it. I really enjoyed this trailer, and I'm very much looking forward to the much more serious crime space cop drama that is DC's Lanterns. The next trailer that I want to talk about is for an upcoming movie called Normal. And this is an action-adventure movie starring Bob Odenkirk set in Minnesota. Yeah, talk about some local love. Okay. Yeah, Bob Odenkirk, of course, he's known for being in roles such as, or being in series such as Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul. He was also in his own action series called Nobody. The first one I thought was incredible. Nobody 2 I thought was just atrocious. And now he's going to go make a movie called Normal. So, do with that what you will. But it's Bob Odenkirk, who's an incredible actor, and it's set in Minnesota. That's all I need. And the trailer, it looks awesome. It looks like a really fun, cool time. I bet they gave away way too much in the trailer. I bet all the cool bits are in said trailer. But you know what? I like what I saw. So I'm going to go check this out. I would see this even if it wasn't set in Minnesota. But since it is set in Minnesota, that's giving it a big boost of a local love for me. So I will probably see it at least twice just to give some love to my hometown here, or to my home state, I should say. North Dakota, Minnesota. You know what I mean. So, Normal is coming to theater soon. Stars Bob Odenkirk in the lead role. He's going to kick butt and save the day in Minnesota. And what more could you want? All right, kids, moving on to the next trailer I want to talk about. Steven Spielberg has an upcoming sci-fi movie called Disclosure Day, and this one is going to be set about disclosing the information around aliens and if they're real and what the government has been hiding from us and what does that mean for us as a species and as a culture and humanity and all that stuff. And I think this movie looks pretty good. I have to be honest, I have not been wowed by their trailers. I think that they're good, not great, and similar with their posters as well, because alongside this new trailer is a new poster. And this new poster, for example, I both like it and dislike it for the same reasons. I like it because of how simple it is. It's just this silhouette of a classic-looking UFO, the flying saucer, with an eyeball in it. But I dislike it for the same reasons as well. There's not enough to really grab my attention. The whole imagery of a flying saucer is very iconic, but just putting a singular eyeball in there, I don't know. For me, it looks almost kind of tacky. But again, I'm complaining about, having my ice cream and eating it too, having my cake and eating it too. I don't know. It's like I like it, but I dislike it at the same time. Anyway, though, getting on with the trailer itself, the more I see of the movie, the more I like it. I don't know how big this movie will be. I'm sure it'll be good, but to me, like this movie doesn't scream crowd pleaser. I think that this one will be kind of niche, which depending on where you fall in terms of the artistic vision, doesn't really matter. But I mean, I would love for this one to be a crowd pleaser. I would love for it to be embraced like any other big movie, any other big sci-fi movie, like Project Hail Mary, for example. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if this one's really gonna pop, so to speak. And also, like the visual effects, some of them I think look really good. Other times I think they look kind of so-so, But we'll see. There's still time to to polish stuff and whatnot. But I do like the idea of this movie, and I like the idea that Steven Spielberg is doing it because we now live in a culture where the UFO discussion is ongoing. It's very present. So this movie is very topical, and to bring this into quote unquote the real world where it's not so much alien abduction or alien invasion or it's not Star Wars or Star Trek. This is presenting us a very quote unquote real interpretation of what disclosure might look like. And there's conversations about will our own actual governments actually disclose stuff to us in the future? Who knows? So I think that this movie is coming out at the right time, and perhaps it will be a crowd pleaser for that. Maybe there will be a natural born curiosity to see it. But yeah, I just like I am looking forward to it. I am. It's on my calendar. I'm gonna see this one in the theaters opening day. But yeah, it's not blowing me away like other Steven Spielberg movies have. But I remain hopeful that this one will be pretty good. All right, kids, let's enter the world of Spider-Man because there is a lot of Spider-Man coming up in our not too distant futures. Starting off with not a new movie, but instead a new series, a new live-action TV series coming via Amazon Prime. This is called Spider-Noir, and if you've watched the Into the Spider-Verse movies, you'll know that Spider-Noir is a literal black and white version of Spider-Man, played by Nicolas Cage, and he's set up as this classic crime fighter detective from like the 1940s, 1950s, like, beat it, toots, we gotta clean the streets, see, get off of my streets, I'm gonna, web you up, doing it for Aunt May, yeah, stuff like that. That's what he is, and for them now to go from the animated world into a live action treatment of this character, what a freaking creative move. And on top of that, they're getting Nicolas Cage, who was just the voice in the original incarnation, to now bring this character into live action. Nicolas Cage from National Treasure, Ghost Rider, among several others, is playing Spider-Man in a detective sort of way with a fedora, a trench coat, and the whole deal. It looks freaking incredible. And on top of that, they're serving us two hearty helpings of this because you can watch Spider-Man Noir in either traditional black and white or in color presentation. You will literally be able to pick which version you want to watch this in. I myself, I watched the trailer in black and white. I will be watching the TV show in black and white, though I might end up watching both versions just to compare. But I love this trailer. I thought it was fantastic. I thought it felt like Spider-Man. I thought it felt like a mystery. I thought it felt like a crime epic. And I thought it felt like, one of those old classic serials that you would see back in like, the 70s, the 80s, and so on and so forth. I love the fact that it feels vintage and kind of grimy and almost homemade. And Nicolas Cage is doing all his isms. He's totally bringing his own energy to this as well. And to bring us such a unique version of Spider-Man, like this is freaking nuts. You wouldn't even dream about getting this in a live action treatment. But we now live in a world where the superhero, pop culture sphere is just the gift that keeps on giving. They want every single adaptation to be its own adaptation, whether it's in live action, animation, video games, so on and so forth. And for this one to be coming out via a television series is just freaking incredible. and I can't wait. And Spider-Noir releases on Amazon Prime this May. And sticking with Spider-Man, of course, the cream of the crop, the piece de resistance to us Spider-Man fans, is an upcoming movie. This one being Spider-Man Brand New Day. This is the continuation of Peter Parker, played by Tom Holland in his movie, series and whatnot. And this trailer looks pretty gosh darn good too, not gonna lie. You got Bruce Banner in there, who is the Hulk. You got the Punisher, which, oh my gosh, how do you cross the streams of your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man with the hard R Punisher character? Where Spider-Man just beats up the bad guys, Punisher will straight up execute him. He will just blow them away. So I have no idea how that dynamic is going to work out, but I can't wait. I also love this trailer. I love the fact that we're getting seemingly 2 fresh takes on Spider-Man inside this year, just months apart as well. And yeah, this trailer looked pretty freaking amazing. And I can't wait. There's something really special about Spider-Man, and I don't know what it is. He's one of my favorite heroes, and maybe one day I'll do like a long-form editorial on why I think some characters really strike a nerve with audiences and others can still be really cool but don't quite, elevate into the stratosphere like others. But I don't know. There's something about Spider-Man that just turns heads, and this trailer certainly turned my head. I didn't think I was gonna like it as much as I did, and I really enjoyed seeing this one. And again, I'm really looking forward to the dynamic of Punisher and Spider-Man. I'm just fascinated by how they're going to pull that off in a PG-13 movie. And so I can't wait. Spider-Man Brand New Day comes to theaters this July. All right, kids, the next trailer I want to talk about. Lots of trailers today. I really enjoy getting caught up on all these new releases coming out. There's a movie set to be released called Deep Water, and the elevator pitch for this one is that there's a plane crash. The plane crashes into the ocean, and just when you think that's the worst of it, you think that that's over. Oh, thank goodness we survived. Okay, can't get any worse from here, right? Oh, no, it can get worse. And it does, because the waters that they crash in the ocean are shark-infested. And so the survivors of the plane crash have to survive shark-infested waters. I'm there. Sign me up. That's all I need. And on top of that, you've got Aaron Eckhart in here, who was Harvey Dent in The Dark Knight Rises. You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become a villain. That guy, Harvey Dent, Two-Face. So I'm looking forward to this one. This movie looks so simple and so kind of cheesy and just good popcorn fun. I'm there for it. I'm not a big fan of scary stuff, but every now and then, 1 out of every 50, scary movie, tense movies, intense thrillers, stuff like that, they'll grab me. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, this is the 1 out of the 50 where it's I saw this trailer in a theater and I was like, yep, I like it. I want to see that. So Deep Water is just a really simple survival movie on 2 fronts. Yes, you have to survive the plane crash, but then you also have to survive the shark-infested waters. Can they find out when it comes out in theaters later this year? The next movie I want to talk about, the next trailer per se, is a movie called Tuner, as in a piano tuner, because this movie has to do with a person who tunes pianos. And this is interesting because this is kind of a crime movie, and you wouldn't think that from how the trailer starts. You'd think this is more of kind of a artsy-dartsy, highbrow type thing, yada yada. But this really kind of presents itself more as something akin to Baby Driver, both literally and metaphorically, because in the trailer you see that our main character, he is someone who has some kind of hearing impairment where loud noises affect him, yet from what I gathered through the trailer, he can perceive precise noises at a certain frequency that enable him to just pick up stuff immediately. So he has headphones to protect his ears, but if you play a piano key for him, for example, he knows, oh, that's this note. Oh, that's that note. Oh, you're doing this and that together. And then at one point throughout the trailer, he is tuning a piano. He thinks he's alone in the house, Turns out he goes, walking through the house, realizes it's being robbed. He hadn't realized it because there's loud noises and whatnot, and the thieves threaten him and they say, hey, keep your mouth shut, and help us, or we're gonna kill you or whatnot. And he ends up helping the thieves get into the safe because he can literally hear the safe clicking, the knob, the keys clicking into place on which numbers are correct and whatnot. Again, very Baby Driver inspired, because Baby Driver has to deal with a professional driver who also has a hearing impairment, and he's kind of driven, no pun intended, by music. That's kind of his thing. He constantly has a ringing in his head, and so to keep himself focused, he puts music in his ears at all times, and that enables him to stay behind the wheel and not let his disability, his impairment, override him and whatnot. A really interesting trailer for Tuner. I'm hoping to be able to catch this one. And I like the kind of unique-ish concept of it all. And I like that the trailer kind of turned itself on its head halfway through. And I'm looking forward to this one. So yeah, I think it'll be pretty interesting when it comes out. It's funny, kids. Just a little bit ago, I said that there's one out of every 50 scary movies that I'm looking forward to, and the one I just talked about was Deep Water, talking about the shark survival movie, and that's true. I am looking forward to that. However, I completely forgot to mention that there is a second movie that I'm looking forward to that aligns more in the scary genre, even more so than Deep Water. And despite this one being more scary, I am looking forward to this one even more than Deep Water. This one is titled The Backrooms. And if you are not familiar with the Backrooms concept, this started from a YouTube video. That's 100% true. Some kid, I believe, I think he was 16 or 17 at the time, he made literally the original template for what is now, a meme genre of these continuous, nonstop, liminal spaces that are also creepy yet comforting at the same time. He was essentially the first one to do it. And if he wasn't the singular first person to make something like this, his original video, The Backrooms, kind of blew everything wide open. And you got a bunch of copycats and a lot of others that tried to do their own spin on this. But the original concept, the one that really took off and made the subgenre of videos what we know and appreciate and see today, came from this one individual person. And now A24 has acquired the rights, to the original concept, to the original video, to make this into a feature film. And I got to be honest, and I'm going to say this, and you're probably going to think I'm nuts, and you know what, maybe I am. But I really like the liminal spaces, the continuous hallways, the backrooms type of videos. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's like a car crash, like it's horrific but you can't look away. I don't know if it's just the whole thing about, when you're a kid and you're in like a hotel hallway, all you want to do is run. But whenever I'm scrolling, whether it's YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, and I see one of these videos, and the environment, again, is kind of creepy, but also kind of comforting. It's kind of inviting, yet it's also kind of like deterring you. There's just something about it to where I can't look away. And I just want to watch, and I want to explore the environments. That's the thing. I think when I see a video like that, the idea of endless rooms, of endless turns, of endless hallways, I think they make me naturally want to explore. And the idea now that this concept is going to get turned into a feature film, I can't wait. I can't wait. And I really like the trailer as well. Again, not necessarily the tone I was thinking they'd go for. I think that this one's going to be a little more, I don't know, I was going to make a comment, but it would sound kind of stupid. But I'll probably make it anyway. But in the video, in the original video, the whole selling point is the atmosphere of the whole deal. And so I would hope that in this movie adaptation, they're going to take more of a quiet place type approach, to where I hope that they let the atmosphere breathe for itself and that they just let the characters exist in the world. But watching the trailer, I think that they're going to do a lot of explaining, a lot of exposition. There is someone in the trailer who claims to have found the back rooms, and he also claims that you can kind of go in and out of them. He might not explicitly say that. I can't fully remember the dialogue, but he acknowledges that he's been in there, he's gone out, and that he wants to either go back in or he's being called back in or lured back in. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but in my understanding of the lore of the Backrooms is that it's truly just by accident that people quite literally fall into them or go through the wrong door, and suddenly they're trapped in this kind of mirror dimension type of deal. That, or maybe there are creatures that are luring people into them so that way they can be their victims. If you watch the original video for the Backrooms, there is some kind of spindly humanoid creature that ends up pursuing our cameraman. So, who knows? But the idea that this person could be a survivor of the Backrooms is interesting as well. But I like the idea of people just getting trapped. And I like the idea of this endless pursuit, this endless run of survival. I don't really like the idea that you can take a timeout from the Backrooms, but again, we've only seen one trailer. There wasn't much to it at all. Really was more of an announcement trailer than anything else. The poster itself presents almost nothing. It just presents the color palette of the movie itself, but really kind of more so the final shot showing the iconic hallways of the Backrooms. I think is really, really awesome as well. Excuse me. And so if the movie is just 90 minutes of that, I'm so there. And I pray to God that they don't do like, oh, we're doing half in the real world, half in the Backrooms. No. I want 2 minutes in the real world, and then, whoa, I think I fell. And now suddenly I'm in the Backrooms, and then I want the remainder of the movie to be, where am I? What is this? What is that chasing me? How do I escape it, and how do I get out of here? That's what I want for my Backrooms movie. And so, A24, if you're listening, and I know that you are, please make that, and I will be ever more happy when this movie comes out. All right, kids, the next trailer I want to talk about is one that I'm kind of reluctant to talk about, but much like I previously said, it's like a car crash. I know it's bad, but I can't look away. Kids, at one point in history, Amazon Prime made a series based on Jack Ryan, who is a character created by Tom Clancy, who has spawned several movie adaptations, several book adaptations, video games, so on and so forth. And his latest bout into pop culture was through the TV series done by Amazon, and it starred John Krasinski, Jim Halpert, as Jack Ryan himself, Mr. CIA agent analyst guy. And the series ran for 4 seasons, and I have a love-hate relationship with this series because I think that the series, quite simply, got worse as it went along. I thought season 1 was incredible. I thought that was like the cream of the crop. I thought that they hit the ground running. And then season 2, again, good, strong. I enjoyed it. Just a little step down. Again, that's okay because like season 1 to me was like a 9. A 9.5. Season 2 was like an 8. Very hard to, get another 9 back to back like that. Even harder to go higher than a 9, so that being a 10. So you know what? I will happily take an 8, with in comparison to the first season and whatnot. But then season 3 happened. And I thought that was like a 7 or a 6. And then season 4 happened. And I'm just being for real. I thought season 4 was terrible. Just terrible. I thought it was so boring. And for that season being dubbed as the final season, I thought it just went out with such a whimper, not a bang. I thought it was a real letdown. Funny enough, I'm pretty sure I reviewed season 4 on this very podcast, and I think I gave season 4, funny enough, a 4 out of 10. So do with that what you will. But yeah, so for me, the legacy of Jack Ryan on Amazon Prime is I look back on it through rose-tinted glasses because when the series started, I was in college, and I remember I was literally watching it, episode in, episode out, week in, week out, while I was going through my college classes, and I found it really good and comforting then, And then, they took a couple of years in between seasons, and so by the time I had graduated college, I had to wait for the new season to come out and whatnot, and then I kind of picked up the show later in my life after season 3 and 4 had already come out, and by the time I reconnected with it, it wasn't as good as I remember, and again, like I was saying, season 4 I thought was just so blech, but now there's a new movie, air quotes, movie coming out called Jack Ryan, Ghost War. And oh boy, I don't mean to rain on anybody's parade. And look, there are people here who care about the material and are trying their best to do stuff with this material. And Amazon is no slouch with their adaptations of things. But I don't get any part of this. First of all, I did not like the trailer. I thought it was very lackluster. To me, it seemed just like a continuation of the series, which you might think, well, duh, that's the whole point. But it's like, okay, if you're gonna do a legitimate next chapter in the series, why not just do a season 5? Why not? What makes the next chapter be a movie as opposed to another season? And also, if you're gonna do a movie, why not release it in theaters? This is going straight to streaming. And straight to streaming is the equivalent of the DVD bin, so that in of itself doesn't scream confidence to me, And so now but you're also taking the framework of the narrative you've been telling over the course of the last couple of years, where you have 6 to 8 episodes a season, so roughly 6 to 8 hours, call it 10, because sometimes they're like, an hour 5, an hour 10 and whatnot, with credits and all that. So call it 10 hours. You have roughly 10 hours per season every couple of years to tell a Jack Ryan narrative. Okay, well, now you're going to take that narrative and condense it back down into 2 hours roughly, which again, that method has been tested and improved. You can do that. I mean, Hunt for Red October is a Jack Ryan movie. I rest my case. However, you're continuing the narrative that began via the streaming series, which is used to a long-form way of telling its story. So to now take something that has all this room to breathe and then condense it, I don't think that's going to work. And the proof of that's already in the pudding, because the first 3 seasons of Jack Ryan, I believe, were 8 episodes. And if my memory holds correct, I think season 4 was only 6. And I thought season 4 was the worst one yet of the seasons, and they had less time to tell a story. So with Jack Ryan, at least over the last storytelling outing that they've had, I think they need more time, not less. And I just the one thing I'll say about this is that I like that they're continuing something that quote unquote works. I think that there's more in the Jack Ryan series that works than doesn't. I think the cast is incredible. I think the locations are great. The action is pretty good. The literal espionage of it all is quite good. It's just sometimes there's a lot of talking and a lot of walking and a lot of this and a lot of that. It can just feel a little stale at times. But I think that there are strong foundations, and I'm glad that they're keeping the core elements of what made the series pop, in the beginning. I just wish that if they were going to truly bring back Jack Ryan, if they were going to dust him off for another adventure, maybe one more final adventure, the final adventure, part 2, I don't know. I wish that they would have said, we're going so big, it needs to be in a movie theater. But it's not. It's coming straight to Prime Video. So, yeah, there's nothing about this that interests me beyond just, curiosity, but the curiosity isn't how incredibly interesting. It's more why? Really, why? Tell me, what are you doing? That being said, will I watch it when it comes out? Yes, I will. I will watch it because I've invested 4 seasons worth of storytelling already into these characters. Well, by golly, they can get 2 more hours. So we'll see what happens when Jack Ryan, Ghost War, comes out in the not-too-distant future. All right, kids, the last trailer I want to talk about is a doozy. If everything we've talked about prior was a meal, then this trailer is a dessert. There is a new trailer for the upcoming Dune Part 3. Yes, kids, Dune 3 is on the horizon, coming to theaters this December, and we have our first trailer. And wow, what an offering they give us from the bat. Dune as a storytelling device is dense. The book is literally huge. It's as thick as a brick, and I mean the thing reads like scripture. And I don't mean that in a heretical way. I mean that in like when you read the Bible, like you have to really, really pay attention and dissect it and all that stuff. The way Frank Herbert wrote Dune, the novel, I mean, you have to sit in your room or your house alone, lights off, doors locked, phone turn off, and I mean you just need to soak in the knowledge because it's written so sophisticated that I mean you can just get lost in all the vernacular and all the proper nouns. But when you understand it, it's exquisite. I mean it's incredible. And the Dune movies are no exception. The ability to adapt this story into movies are incredible. And I say movies because Dune Parts 1 and 2 as movies cover just the first Dune book in the series. That's how dense it is as literature. Dune Part 3, funny enough, covers the second book in the Dune series known as Dune Messiah, which, funny enough, is not nearly as big as its predecessor. And the thing about Dune as a franchise is that the books get progressively weirder as things go on. And I'll be honest, I've only ever read half of one Dune book, that being the first Dune book, the proper Dune book. Everything else I know about Dune has been through reading Wikipedia articles and watching editorials and learning it from friends and so on and so forth. But of the gist that I have of the Dune franchise beyond the first book and whatnot, things get crazy, like really, really crazy, like into really niche sci-fi to where it's like, I don't even know if I like this type of stuff. So Dune Part 3 has a lot of heavy lifting to where I don't know if it's going to be a crowd pleaser, but they're going to try because this trailer was, I mean, holy bananas. The visual effects in this, the music, the atmosphere, the tone, the sense of scale, the directing, the acting, fill up my cup. I mean, this thing looks incredible. And kids, if you don't know, the hairstyle I currently have with the long hair is trying to emulate Timothée Chalamet. I will fully admit that. I remember I was watching Dune with my friends leading up to the release of Dune Part 2. We're watching and we were really enjoying it, And then they turned to me and they were like, hey, Jim, you should try going for the Chalamet hair. And I was like, no. And then respectfully, they all were like, yeah, go for it, man, go for it. And I was like, okay. And I've had that hair ever since. And I got to say, it was a good call on their part. So I'm all in on Timothée Chalamet returning as the Duke of Arrakis. But what's funny is that in this trailer, he has a shaved head, which is pretty nutty. And so to quote Kylo Ren from The Force Awakens, I know what I have to do, but I don't know if I have the strength to do it. Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do. Should I shave my hair to follow in the footsteps of Timothée Chalamet, of the Duke of Arrakis, of the Kwetzat Haderach, as it were, the Lisan al-Gaib, to quote all my Dune fans out there? Or do I keep my luscious hair length here, and do I carry on in his legacy? We'll have to find out here as time rolls on. But yeah, Dune Part 3, looks incredible. I can't wait. Like, again, with the Backrooms trailer, that was just an offering for what the movie is going to show us. The Dune Part 3 trailer said, no. This is a meal. Pull up a chair, sit down. There's a lot here. There's a lot here, and I'm looking forward to it. December cannot arrive fast enough. Funny enough, I think I'm looking forward more to Dune Part 3 than I am to Avengers Doomsday. Pretty crazy to say. Never thought I'd say that in my life, but here we are. So yeah, that Dune 3 trailer is pretty good. All right, kids, moving on from movie trailers, let's now close out the show today with some movie reviews. I've seen a bunch of stuff, a real trail mix bag of stuff, just a bunch of random movies held together. Let's start off with this. While we're looking ahead into December for Dune 3, let's back it up to February of this year because I saw Crime 101 starring Chrissy Hemsworth, Thor himself. And this is a movie that I've talked about a little bit on the podcast before. I actually talked about how this one kind of came in, or it could, come and go, kind of flew under the radar type of stuff. I didn't really hear a lot of buzz about it. And that's too bad because I really like this movie. I don't love it, but I like it because it's shot in LA, so it looks great. I think it has a cool atmosphere to it. And Chris Hemsworth, again, known for playing Thor, for being the hero, for being charismatic and stoic and all that stuff. In this movie, he plays a criminal, a thief, who is the exact opposite of all that stuff. He's insecure and he doesn't know how to operate with females and groups and stuff like that. And he's very meticulous, yet he's off-putting at the same time. It's really interesting. And look, is this movie a slam dunk? No. Is it even one of the better movies I've seen all year? No. I highly doubt it'll make my top 10 of the year. But look, I had a good time with it. I did. I enjoyed it, and I hope that people find it, over the course of its life. I wish people would have gone to see this more in a theater, but when they find it on streaming, I think it's absolutely worth picking up then. And, I think that this is one that I will end up watching again at some point over the year because this is a movie that, again, I saw back in early February, but I can't quite get it out of my mind. And again, it's not like it's exceptional and it's not like it's terrible. It's just good enough to where I was like, yeah, I liked that. But I'm not really sure why. I think I need to go revisit that. But yeah, Chris Hemsworth playing a different role for himself. Again, more known for the hero. Here he plays a villain. More known for being, a chatterbox. Here he's really reserved, And it's a really interesting crime movie that, again, looks like $1 million because they shot it in LA. And I thought it was really cool. And I hope that people check it out over the coming months and years as it's continuing its life cycle now on streaming and home video. The next movie I want to talk about that I saw is a older movie, and it's also a foreign film too. This movie is a product, of Hong Kong cinema, dubbed a Hong Kong cinema classic. This is Hard Boiled, directed by John Woo, and holy crap on a cracker! This movie walked so John Wick could run, because the action in this is unbelievable. I mean, the amount of squibs to simulate gunshot wounds, explosions, the amount of hand-to-hand stuff, backflips, car crashes, motorcycle crashes, broken glass. I mean, oh my gosh. There is so much environmental damage in this movie. I mean, when a gun gets fired, it's not just pew, 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 pew. Oh no, there's a hole now in my wall. It's get down, because that bullet's going to literally tear open the entire plaster, bounce off a strut, and then blow out your back, in the same time. When the gun starts shooting, stuff just goes freaking everywhere. You're going to die of freaking, inhaling, some toxic chemicals or, plaster. Because, I mean, my gosh, they just destroy the sets. The physical, practical destruction of this stuff is just astronomical. I would love to know what the literal, set production value is for this stuff. Because, the dressing behind all this, I can't imagine. Could you imagine, destroying a room completely, literally blowing the insulation out of walls, breaking every table and glass, window pane possible, shooting the stuffing out of chairs, stuff like that. You have fake blood going everywhere. And then the director is like, that's fantastic. Let's do it again. You got to clean all that stuff up. You have to reset everything, and then you just got to do it again. And you have to have your actors, launching themselves through tables and windows and all this stuff and getting punched and shot, and they're bleeding and screaming. Like, you watch stuff like this and you think they must have surely done this in one take. Because I can't imagine how they have the literal physical capital investment to do this more than once, maybe twice, depending on the thing. But just when you think you've seen like the greatest action you've ever seen in your entire life, the movie says, "Oh, hold my beer." And like the action per minute in this movie is freaking insane. This won't be for everyone because some people do not like excess violence, but also, again, this is a movie that came from Hong Kong, and so it's not spoken in traditional English. I had to watch it with subtitles. I tried to watch the English dubbed version, and it was just terrible. Whoever they got to do the English voices over the characters, I thought it was just asinine. It was like they were reading the phone book. So I watched it with subtitles, which I don't mind. I don't mind reading, as some people do. But I will say this, though. They talked a mile a minute, and I had to constantly back up to be like, wait, what was that? Because I had to read everything on the screen. And then when there's no talking during an action sequence, I was like, yes, excuse me, while I sit back and kick my feet up for the next 11 minutes. It's freaking nuts. They don't make movies like this anymore. Like, I'm sure they have different health standards over there, than they'd possibly do here. Because, like, there are several times throughout this movie where I'm watching stunt performers, like, legitimately, like, injure themselves, like, on purpose. Like, there are times I was watching that movie and I was like, that guy got concussed. That guy totally broke his hand. That guy totally broke his foot. That guy, somebody better check on him. He might actually be literally dead. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy, but it's so entertaining because it's real. It's natural. Like, they did it all practically. You can't not admire and respect the artisan behind the whole deal. Again, that being John Woo, who is this incredible, action director. And Hard Boiled, like, wow. I mean, just what a movie. And if you're a fan of video games like Grand Theft Auto or Sleeping Dogs, especially, you're gonna love this movie. Because when I was watching this one, I was like, "Yep, this feels like Sleeping Dogs." I bet the director, I bet the producers and the creators behind that game, I bet they were watching this thing on a loop while they were making that game. So John Woo's Hard Boiled it's a really, really good movie. I'm not gonna lie. The next movie I want to talk about, I wish I could talk about with as much reverence as I did Hard Boiled. There's a movie that came out called Stargate, which stars Kurt Russell, James Spader, and is directed by Roland Emmerich, who did the movie The Patriot, and I think he also did Independence Day, though that feels kind of wrong as I say it out loud. But anyway, I know for a fact he directed The Patriot. That movie's incredible, and that movie has incredible destruction as well. That's kind of what he's known for. Roland Emmerich is big action, big destruction type stuff. And so when I was watching Stargate, I was expecting that. I did not get that. Let me sell you Stargate here, for example. Ancient Egypt. Well, not necessarily ancient, but Egypt. Egypt. Underneath the pyramids is this artifact, this ring that they unearth. They pull it up, dust it off, and they seemingly turn it on. Ooh. And they realize it's a Stargate. The thing blasts water out of its, circular opening, and it creates this portal to another planet, not just a distant planet like Mars or something beyond our solar system. Oh no, it is on the other side of the freaking galaxy, baby. I mean, that thing is way over there. And what humans are doing is they're experimenting on it. They're trying to figure it out. They're sending in probes and rovers, and nothing's coming back. Well, what they realize is that the the Stargate, the ring, has hieroglyphs on it from ancient Egypt because, again, it was buried underneath what we know as Egypt on Earth, underneath the pyramids and all that stuff. And so they call in this, I don't know what you'd call him, an Egyptologist, played by James Spader, and he's able to figure it out. He's like, that hieroglyph means that. I don't know what that means fully because that looks pretty old, but like you do this and that and this and that, and you're gonna be able to do this. And everyone goes, that's incredible. And so he's able to turn it on and hold open this constant portal to get people to the other side and whatnot. And they go through, and they realize that on the other side, the planet they encounter, the whole culture system is based on Egypt. Okay, but here's the thing, though, too, is I got to back up a little bit here. So, gosh, this movie, man. So James Spader turns it on. He figures it out, and he's like, hey, it's linking to a planet on the other side of our freaking galaxy. It's so far away, it's stupid. And he's like, I can determine that the atmosphere is comparable to Earth. Again, that's real convenient for not having to have your actors in spacesuits, but whatever. And Joe Schmo, citizen, and GI Pentagon, they're like, that's fantastic. Send in the military. Just right away. They're no scientists, no linguists, no botanists, no engineers, just dudes in fatigues with MP5s. Just get them on in. And that's Kurt Russell. And I'm like, okay. So like you're not that's the problem I have with this movie is that the technology and the ideas are really really interesting. The way in which they are presented and executed and dissected by the own characters in the movie do not live up to the ideas. So they send in G.I. Joe Kurt Russell and his squad of whatever, and they go through the portal, literally just in fatigues with a rucksack and an MP5 and whatnot. And they appear on the other side, and James Spader's going to go through too because he is the top Egyptologist on the planet or something, and he can determine hieroglyphs and whatnot, on the other side of the portal and whatnot, because they're going to need to reactivate the portal on the other side to get back to Earth, so yada, yada, yada. So Kurt Russell and his soldiers go through with James Spader, Mr. Egyptologist guy, and they go through, and the planet they discover is quite literally just a more kind of alien-esque version of Egypt. Like, literally, that's about it. Like, so, okay. You would think that sounds dumb. And maybe, to a certain degree, it is. But for me, that raises a lot of interesting questions. Okay, so let's pause here. So, you find an alien artifact under the pyramids in Egypt. You go through, I'm sorry, you go through the portal, and the planet on the other side, everything resembles what we know as Egyptians on Earth. Okay, let's examine that. Does that mean A, what we on Earth refer to as the culture of Egyptians are actually aliens? Meaning that aliens literally did come to Earth at some point and help build the pyramids and do all that stuff, And so do the remnants of them just become our cultural Egyptians that we know today and we study in history books and in schools and whatnot? That's never examined. That question is never examined. On the flip side, does that mean that, wait a minute, say the Egyptians are still the Egyptians from Earth, but they were so technologically proficient that they actually managed to develop space travel? Because, again, that's another theory that's, hypothesized today, is that not only were, the Egyptians, so advanced to be able to build the pyramids, but if you listen to enough Joe Rogan, for example, he's going to say they had technologies we've never even thought of before, so who knows? Maybe they had spacecraft back then. Who knows? Because in our real cultural history, mythos, and stuff like that, there is a relationship that people love to examine between aliens and Egypt and stuff like that. And in Stargate, that presents this in a movie, but it doesn't explain or ask any questions. Like, if I'm James Spader, if I'm Mr. Egyptologist, and I dedicate my whole life to understanding this stuff, and I go to an alien planet that looks, smells, sounds, and operates just like Egypt, my head would fall off of my body. I would foam at the mouth with questions. And he doesn't really have much curiosity for any of this stuff. He should be like a kid in a candy store. He should be like the guy that Kurt Russell's like, settle down, we have a mission to get to. No. They all play completely reserved and straight-laced. On top of that, there are also aliens on this planet too. So it's not quite Egypt, but it's like 99% of the way there. But the aliens they look like the banthas from like Star Wars. I mean, they're not like anything cool or creepy or whatnot. No, they look more like space oxen. So whatever. But still, an alien species. Oh my gosh. And again, James Spader isn't like, wow, let's take a hair sample. Let's take, a saliva sample. Let's record its bellowing. Nothing like that. He's just like, wow, that thing sure is big and in the way. Anyway, what's next? I mean, and then you got G.I. Joe Kurt Russell, who again, I love Kurt Russell. He's the man. But like, you go into an alien planet with one squad of soldiers with the most basic weapons you could possibly get off the assembly line. Now look. I love me an MP5. I do. If you remember in The Matrix when Neo and Trinity are going to infiltrate, are they at a bank or are they at a hotel? I can't remember. They're in some lobby. But before they get to the lobby, they call up those massive rows of weapons. They go on for miles. They can pick whatever they want. And one of them, if not both of them, picks MP5s because they're the bomb. Okay, they're this uber cool submachine gun that just rips. You throw a suppressor on that thing too, you are gonna be an absolute threat. Yada yada. They also smack in Call of Duty and in Battlefield. I mean, forget about it. So I can respect the weapon system. You're going in with old trusty. That being said, get me some variety on the team. If I'm going in with a squad, call it 5-6 soldiers deep, I want a sniper, I want a spotter with him, I want a demolitions expert, I want a medic. Give me a guy just in charge of communications. Like, heck, give me a guy just in charge of hydration. Seriously, we're going to an alien planet. They never bothered to take any of this stuff seriously. And no one seems to be awed or mystified by the fact that they are battling legitimate Egyptians on this alien planet. Because I kid you not. I kid you not. This is real. The bad guys, the quote-unquote bad guys, are dressed in Egyptian garbs and their heads look like the heads of Sphinx. So, I mean, seriously, if any of them go to any social studies or history class on the planet in America, in America or anywhere else on the planet, they're going to be like, wow, that sure does look like the ancient Sphinx from Egypt. I wonder why the alien is wearing that. I mean, they never bothered to ask these questions, and there isn't a sense of curiosity to this movie. So I think, okay, clearly this movie has bigger fish to fry. They're doing bigger things. They're not going to take time to examine the science or ask any important questions or do whatever. No. This is Roland Emmerich. So clearly they're building up to these big Gucci action sequences where things are going to get destroyed. We're going to see pyramids explode, man. Just you wait. Spoiler. No. This movie is very reserved. This movie is kind of boring. I'm going to be honest. Again, really interesting on paper. Execution-wise, bland. And that kills me because, again, Kurt Russell as the soldier, James Spader as the scientist, directed by Kurt Russell, directed by Roland Emmerich. Like, what's not to like? This thing should click, but it doesn't. This movie baffles me. Absolutely baffles me. That being said, clearly people love Stargate because it launched a freaking franchise. There's a whole TV series that ran like 9 seasons. So, God bless them. I don't think they set up enough stuff in the movie to warrant the continuation of the story in either a subsequent movie, let alone a series. I don't know. But look, clearly I'm missing something because, as I just said, this thing launched several vessels. But yeah, the movie Stargate, I did not get this. I wanted so much more from this, and yeah, this thing just to me was just nothing at all. However, kids, whereas Stargate left me completely hungry in terms of sci-fi movie entertainment, there is a movie in theaters right now, at the time of this recording, that left me fully satisfied. That movie is Project Hail Mary. Yes, kids, I saw this movie, and I'll just say this. I loved it. Loved it. I thought it was great. I'll say this, though. Despite me giving it that glowing review, there are things that I wish would have been better. One of really my primary complaint, air quotes, complaint with the movie is that I wish it was just, frankly, longer. Because, as you've heard on the podcast before, I've been reading the book. Funny enough, I actually have not finished the book yet. I know, which is just crazy. By the time I saw the movie, I had not finished the book, and so there was a point in the story. There was a point when I was watching the movie to where I was like, I know that, I know that, I know that, I know that. Oh, I don't know what comes next. It's truly a mystery to me. Truly a mystery. I stayed spoiler free. The problem, though, is that the book is so nutritional. It's funny. It's educational. It's an adventure. And this is a hard book to condense into a singular movie, much like Dune. I don't know if the correct way to do this would have been to have gone 2 movies, but I do wish it was longer. The theatrical cut comes out to 236, I think, and I know for certain there was an assembly cut that was like over 4 hours long, and then I know that the first screener cut was like over 3.5. That's what I want. Give me the 3.5-hour cut of this, because the book looked like the elevator pitch is that Ryan Gosling has to go save Earth from a dying star, which is true. That's the central thing of the movie. In the book, though, just as how you're following him in space on a spaceship, the Hail Mary, you are also following what's happening on Earth. You are very much invested in Earth in terms of science, experimentation, sacrifices being made, character development, so on and so forth. And in the movie, unfortunately, Earth is kind of just left behind. Yes, you see it and you flash back to it and all that stuff, and there are montages, but there's so much from the book that I wish was in the movie. And so I'm knowing that there are legitimately longer, not just like 10-minute longer cuts, but like hours worth of footage. I bet they legitimately shot everything in the book. Everything. And I won't give any spoilers, but there's stuff that has to do with the ice caps. There is stuff that has to do with the desert. I bet there's stuff that has to do with a courtroom, for example. I bet all of those sequences, just those 3 alone, I bet those were filmed in their entirety. And I would love to see them because they provide such great context for the characters, again, that we're following both on Earth and on Ryan Gosling's spaceship. And the movie is really more so prioritized with space than with what's going back on Earth. That's not necessarily a problem because that is kind of the main course of it all, but not by a lot. Like, again, in the book, I think it's more like I was going to say 55-45 split, but that might be a little too close. I'm going to say 60-40. In the book, I think it's more of a 60-40 split between space and Earth. And I will hear an argument about that, whether it should be more or less. In the movie, I think it's more 70-30, maybe even 75-25. I would have liked more stuff on Earth. But again, that being said, what is in this movie is phenomenal. I mean, where do I even begin? Visually, this movie is stunning. Stunning. It will take your breath away. There are points I was watching this and I was like, oh, that's filmed for real. Like, I don't know how they did that, but like clearly that's a real spaceship in space. Like, just clearly they called up Elon Musk, because I don't know how else you could get it to look that real. There are points in this movie where you just think you could reach out and touch the gosh darn hull of the spaceship. Like, it's just nuts, you know. And then you have the alien Rocky, who is an alien made of rocks, hence his name. He's a puppet in the movie. Now I'm sure they've touched him up with CGI and all that stuff, but like he was a real practical element, and like you can feel the tangibility behind him. You can feel the weight of him. You can feel the weight of his movements. You know, like there's so much going on with him. And there's so much emotion in this movie. I kid you not. I'm not even kidding. I got teary-eyed in this movie. I got glassy-eyed. This thing made me freaking get choked up. It made me feel. My mom, she was sitting right beside me. She also started to cry as well. And like, oh, what an emotional journey. What a fun journey too. It was fun, funny, action-packed, emotional. It hit every note. Oh my gosh. And again, it looked amazing. It sounded amazing. The music, oh my gosh. Like, incredible performances. Oh my gosh. I mean, I am literally Ryan Gosling. And I mean, he's just, that man can just do no wrong. I mean, holy guacamole. And I love Project Hail Mary. I will say this though, I do prefer the book. And I've not even finished the book yet, but the book was one of the greatest reads I've like ever partook in like my whole life. And so the movie had a Herculean effort to live up to that, but boy, it got darn near close. Again, my one complaint of the movie is that I just wish it was longer. I wanted more of the movie. I wanted more of the story. That being said, though, everything that's there, I mean, just pitch perfect. And I want to see it again. And if you haven't seen it once already, do yourself a service. Go out and see it. It is truly incredible. If you're a fan of space, go see it. Exploration, go see it. Adventure, go see it. Sci-fi, go see it. Ryan Gosling, go see it. Aliens, go see it. I mean, just any reason you can find to go see this movie. Treat yourself and go see Project Hail Mary, which is in theaters now. And finally, kids, the last movie I want to talk about was more than just a movie. It was an event. And I am talking about a movie called Preschool, which is directed by Josh Duhamel, and he also stars in the movie as well. But this movie was more than just a screening for me. As I said, it was an event because there was a special screening hosted by Josh Duhamel at the Fargo Theater here in Fargo, North Dakota. Yes, kids, I got to see Josh Duhamel in the flesh, Mr. North Dakota himself. And I gotta be honest, it was amazing. It was amazing. I got introduced to him, and I really got like a man crush on him when I first saw him in 2007 in the Transformers movies. The first one in particular, but he was in the first three. No, Josh Duhamel was in 1, 2, 3, and 5. He was not in 4, which is unfortunate. But anyway, I digress. That's where I first got introduced to him, was those movies, the original trilogy of Transformers movies. And I thought he was awesome. I thought he played this super cool, super good-looking military guy. And then I go on to find out that he is from North Dakota. He is a North Dakota boy who made it big in Hollywood. Like, let's freaking go, baby. And so for him to do that is awesome. And for me to literally be in the same room as him it was also just awesome as well. He's aged just so gracefully. He still looks great. If they make more Transformers movies, he needs to come back because like that would just be so awesome. But like, yeah, just to put to literally see the guy that fought alongside Optimus Prime and Bumblebee against Megatron and Starscream. Like, oh baby, I loved it so much. And yeah, I'm very thankful that the Fargo Theater has been able to put on events like this before. It was through them that I got to see Thomas Howell from The Outsiders, and now I got to see Josh Duhamel as well. I did not get to do a picture with him or a meet and greet, which I was really hoping I would. I got really, really close to him. In fact, if I would have reached out, I probably could have literally shaken his hand. I almost bumped into the guy. But yeah, it was so awesome to just, again, be able to see a guy that fought alongside the Autobots against the Decepticons, someone that I grew up watching and all that. But again, getting back to his actual movie itself, he directed and stars in a movie called Preschool, which is kind of a family comedy where he plays one of two families who are both battling for one singular spot at a prestigious preschool. And so funny antics ensue with each family trying to one-up each other to the dean, to the enrollment board, to try to get that spot for their child. And look, Mr. Duhamel, if you're listening, and I know that you are, this movie's not perfect. I laughed. I did. I thought it was funny at times. There were other times I thought it was kind of just outright silly, and stuff like that. He did great. Duhamel did great. Great actor, great director, the whole bit. I liked it. The theater that I was in was freaking packed. We were laughing our butts off at times. Like, we had a great time. The movie itself, like, will it be one of my favorites from the year? Honestly, probably not. But again, it's got that touch of it just feels genuine. It feels sincere, and I really appreciate that from this whole endeavor. And yeah, I was really thankful to not only catch his next movie, and one that he not only again stars in but also directs, because again he's got the North Dakota roots, but also again just to literally be in the same room with him. And I of course wore my Transformers gear, to the screening and whatnot. It was just what a cool event. Just what a cool event. And this guy genuinely loves North Dakota. I mean, he is tapped in. I've seen him advertise Medora and I think Bismarck too at some point. He's also a big Minnesota Vikings fan. I think he's also shout out like, the Twins and whatnot too and stuff like that. I mean, he's all in on North Dakota. And when he was up on stage talking about bringing his movie to the Fargo Theater, back to North Dakota proper, you could feel that he's sincere with all of it and that he really values his home roots. And I mean this legitimately, and this might sound kind of pompous and airy, but I just think he's just a good guy. I have no reason to believe that he isn't. I think he really cares about his home and his family, and just being humble and being grateful for what he has. And yeah, again, to go from these big action blockbusters like Transformers, and then to now go into this really intimate thing, which is again a story about families at its core. I just think is really, really awesome. And so yeah, I'm very happy to have been able to gotten to see Josh Duhamel again with my mom. We went to this under Project Hail Mary for her birthday. Shout out to my mom, by the way. And yeah, just what a great time at the movies to get to see talent on screen, and then to get to see talent literally on stage that was also on screen as well. And so yeah, it's just again, as I said off the top here, a lot has happened since we last got together. But yeah, it was all pretty good. Anyway, that'll do it for this episode of the Far Out Podcast. Thank you so much for watching and for listening. I hope you have a good one. And yeah, baseball season is here, so please enjoy. And yeah, go out to the movies. Go see Project Hail Mary at some point. And yeah, just have a good rest of your week, your month, your year, whenever you find this. And I'll see you in the next one. All right, bye-bye.